Welcome back to Star Zodiacs, where the mysteries of the cosmos unfold to reveal powerful truths about you and your journey through life. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most overlooked, but deeply important parts of your astrological chart, Chiron, the wounded healer. While the planets often get most of the attention, Chiron offers something unique and incredibly powerful. What if I told you that your deepest emotional wound could become your greatest strength? That the pain you once tried to bury might be the very thing that leads you to wisdom, purpose, and healing, not just for yourself, but for others? In astrology, Chiron is the key to understanding where you feel broken, but also where you can shine the brightest after doing the work of healing. It reveals an old scar, often rooted in childhood or early experiences, and shows you a path of transformation. Think of it like this: Chiron is the teacher who teaches not from books, but from experience, the kind that hurts, but also builds resilience. So, what does Chiron really mean in your birth chart? And what hidden gifts does it hold for you once you face that wound head-on? Stick around until the end of this video, because we'll be sharing a bonus insight that reveals how Chiron can actually become a superpower in your personal life, career, and relationships. Let's get started. Wound. When Chiron is activated in your chart, the first and most important thing it points to is your wound. But we're not just talking about a scraped knee or a physical hurt. This wound is emotional, spiritual, or even existential. It's that place in your life where something feels incomplete, unfair, or broken. For many people, this wound starts early, like feeling rejected, abandoned, misunderstood, or not good enough as a child. It can be subtle, like always feeling like you don't belong, or big and obvious, like trauma or loss. The wound Chiron reveals can make you feel ashamed, embarrassed, or like you have to hide parts of yourself to be accepted. It often lives in the background, shaping your choices and your fears without you realizing it. The pain might show up in your relationships, career, or even in your self-talk. But the good news is, this wound isn't here to punish you. It's here to help you grow. When you finally face it, understand it, and stop running from it, you begin to change, and that's where healing starts. Mirror. One of the most interesting things about Chiron is that it acts like a mirror. What does that mean? Well, it reflects back to you the very things you're trying to avoid. People you meet, situations you go through, and feelings that keep coming up often trigger your Chiron wound. If your wound is about not being heard, for example, you might keep meeting people who talk over you or ignore your ideas. If your wound is about not feeling loved, you might find yourself chasing relationships that feel cold or distant. At first, this can feel frustrating, even cruel. Why does the universe keep sending you the same painful patterns? But once you understand Chiron, you realize it's not punishment. It's awareness. Chiron is showing you what you need to look at, what needs healing. And the mirror effect is there to help you notice, reflect, and grow. Once you recognize the pattern, you can begin to change it, and then, your life starts to transform. Shame. Shame is a big part of the Chiron journey. This isn't the kind of shame you feel when you spill a drink or forget someone's name. It's deeper. It's the shame that whispers, "You're not good enough. You're broken. You'll never be like them." Chiron wounds are often covered in shame because they come from moments where you felt deeply vulnerable, and maybe even judged or betrayed. This shame can be hidden so well that you might not even know it's there. You might act extra competent to cover it up. Or you might avoid certain goals or relationships because deep down, you believe you're not worthy. But guess what? When you bring this shame into the light and talk about it, maybe in therapy, or with someone you trust, it begins to lose its power. Chiron teaches you that healing doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from being honest, open, and real about who you are. Vulnerability. Now that we've talked about wounds and shame, let's explore the gift hiding behind all that pain: vulnerability. Chiron helps you understand that being vulnerable doesn't mean being weak, it means being human. And when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to share your real thoughts and feelings, something magical happens. You connect. You build trust. You create room for healing, not just for yourself, but for others too. Chiron wants you to stop pretending you're fine when you're not. It invites you to take off the mask and say, "This is me, scars and all." And guess what? That's when people lean in. That's when you start attracting true friends, deeper love, and real opportunities. Vulnerability becomes a bridge to connection, authenticity, and freedom. It's not easy, but it's one of Chiron's greatest lessons. Empathy. One of the most beautiful gifts that comes from working with your Chiron wound is empathy. When you've been through something hard and come out the other side, you understand what others are going through in a way that no book or school could ever teach you. You become a safe space. You become the person who says, "I get it. I've been there too." Chiron gives you the power to hold others in their pain without needing to fix them. Just your presence, your understanding, and your compassion can help others feel seen and supported. Whether you become a counselor, a teacher, a parent, or just a good friend, your wound gives you a kind of emotional wisdom that can guide others. And the best part? Every time you help someone else heal, you heal a little more too. Wisdom. When you think of someone wise, you might picture an old teacher or a spiritual leader. But real wisdom doesn't come from age alone, it comes from experience. Chiron helps turn your painful experiences into wisdom. The things you've struggled with the most become the things you understand the best. You know what it feels like to fall and get back up. You've learned what works and what doesn't. That's wisdom. And wisdom isn't just about giving advice. It's about seeing patterns, trusting your gut, and knowing what really matters. As you work through your Chiron wound, you'll notice that you become more insightful, more thoughtful, and more grounded. People may start coming to you for help or inspiration, and you'll be ready to guide them. Identity. Chiron also shapes your identity, the story you tell yourself about who you are. At first, the wound may make you feel small or stuck. You might see yourself as a victim, or someone who's just not lucky, or someone who will never be enough. But as you heal, that story begins to change. You start to see yourself as a survivor, a warrior, a healer. You realize that your past doesn't define you, it informs you. It teaches you. And you get to choose how the rest of your story goes. Chiron invites you to rewrite your identity, not by ignoring the past, but by owning it. By saying, "Yes, that happened. And here's who I've become because of it." That shift is life-changing. Purpose. Here's something powerful. Your Chiron wound is often tied to your purpose. That thing you've struggled with the most? It might be the exact thing you're here to help others with. Someone who felt invisible might become a speaker. Someone who battled illness might become a healer. Someone who faced rejection might become an advocate for inclusion. Chiron points to the kind of impact you're meant to make in the world, not by being perfect, but by being real. By sharing your journey. By turning your scars into stories of hope. When you follow your Chiron path, life begins to feel more meaningful, more aligned. You're not just surviving, you're serving. You're turning pain into purpose. Mentorship. As you walk the Chiron path and gather wisdom, you become a natural mentor. You might not even try, it just happens. People feel safe around you. They sense that you get it. And they start asking you for guidance. Whether you formally become a coach, a therapist, a guide, or just someone others lean on, Chiron gives you a mentoring spirit. But this kind of mentorship is different. It's not about having all the answers. It's about listening deeply, asking thoughtful questions, and reminding others that they're not alone. Your presence becomes healing. And through mentoring others, you deepen your own healing too. It becomes a beautiful, ongoing circle of growth. Freedom. At the heart of all of Chiron's lessons is freedom. Not the kind of freedom that comes from running away, but the kind that comes from facing your wounds and realizing they don't control you anymore. When you stop hiding, stop pretending, and stop avoiding, you start living. You start breathing. You start becoming fully, completely yourself. Chiron wants to free you from the idea that you're broken. It wants you to know that your pain doesn't make you less, it makes you more. more aware, more compassionate, more alive. And when you live in that kind of truth, you inspire others to do the same. That's real freedom. And it's waiting for you. Superpower. Now, here's the bonus we promised. Did you know that once you fully integrate your Chiron wound, it becomes a superpower? That's right, what once made you feel weak or flawed can become your strongest asset. Your empathy becomes your intuition. Your pain becomes your passion. Your story becomes your message. You stop seeing your wound as something to hide and start seeing it as a source of light. People are drawn to your truth, your strength, and your depth. You become magnetic. Whether you use your superpower to build a career, help others, create art, or simply live with more joy, it's yours to claim. That's the gift of Chiron, transformation from the inside out. So, what have we learned today? Chiron is more than just an asteroid, it's a roadmap to healing, growth, and deep transformation. It shows us where we hurt, but also where we can rise. From wounds and shame, to vulnerability, wisdom, and freedom, Chiron invites us to become the heroes of our own stories. And in doing so, we light the way for others. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome to Star Zodiacs, where the stars help guide you to a better understanding of yourself and your place in the universe. Today's episode is a deep and powerful one because we're diving into the mysterious and healing energy of Chiron and Aries. If you've ever felt like you don't belong, like your voice doesn't matter, or that you're constantly fighting just to be seen or heard, then this video is for you. You might not know this, but your birth chart holds a secret key called Chiron, known in astrology as the wounded healer. Discovered in 1977, Chiron is a small but mighty celestial body that travels between Saturn and Uranus. Though tiny, its power is huge. It reveals your deepest emotional wounds, the kind that don't always leave visible scars, but it also shows how you can grow stronger by facing those wounds head-on. When Chiron sits in Aries in your chart, it creates something very unique. Aries is the sign of courage, action, and self-identity. But when Chiron is here, your identity may not feel strong at all. You might wonder, who am I really, or feel like you can't live up to who you want to be. But here's the twist, through those very struggles, you gain a special kind of strength, wisdom, and leadership that others naturally look up to. Make sure you stay until the end, because we'll share a powerful bonus trait that might just be the key to unlocking the hidden strength inside you. This trait isn't talked about often, but it could change how you see yourself forever. Let's begin our journey into the heart of Chiron and Aries. Doubt. When you have Chiron and Aries, one of the first things you may feel is doubt. Not just a little doubt, like wondering if you got an answer wrong on a test. This is deep doubt about who you are at the core. It can feel like something is missing inside, like you were born without the full instruction manual for how to be you. You may often compare yourself to others and think, they seem to have it all figured out. Why don't I? This kind of doubt doesn't just stay in your head. It can show up in your body too. Maybe you slouch without meaning to, or avoid looking people in the eyes. Maybe you hesitate before speaking, even when you know the answer. This wound can make you second-guess everything, from your clothes to your goals. But here's the thing, this doubt is not your enemy. It's actually the very thing that pushes you to search for your real identity. And as you begin to figure that out, your doubt slowly starts to transform. It becomes a tool that helps you ask the right questions, explore new parts of yourself, and eventually, develop a confidence that no one can take away. When you finally start believing in yourself, even a little, you begin a healing process that turns doubt into discovery. Courage. Let's talk about courage. Most people think being brave means being fearless. But real courage, especially for someone with Chiron and Aries, means acting even when you're scared. You might feel afraid to try out for a team, to raise your hand in class, or to be the first one to speak in a group. But Chiron's lesson here is powerful. Every act of courage, no matter how small, is a step toward healing. Aries is a bold, fiery sign. It wants you to take risks, to leap, to move forward. But Chiron puts a crack in that confidence. You may feel like you're not brave enough, like your voice doesn't matter, or like you're going to mess up. But when you push through that fear and do it anyway, something amazing happens. Your inner voice grows stronger. You start to notice that the world didn't fall apart when you spoke your truth. In fact, people may start to listen. They may even admire you. Courage isn't something you're born with, it's something you build, brick by brick, each time you try again. And the more you practice courage, the more natural it feels. You begin to carry it with you, like a quiet fire in your chest that reminds you that you are capable, even when your fears try to tell you otherwise. Rejection. Rejection can feel like one of the sharpest pains there is, especially for someone with Chiron and Aries. It can happen early in life. Maybe someone didn't accept who you were, or you tried something and got laughed at. Rejection stings because it hits right at the heart of your identity. It can make you feel like being you is somehow wrong. You might have been excited to share an idea or show a talent, only to be ignored or told it wasn't good enough. That can hurt so deeply that you start to hide who you really are. You might try to blend in, to become invisible so you don't get hurt again. But here's what Chiron teaches: rejection doesn't mean you're broken. It means the world wasn't ready to see the real you, yet. And every time you get back up after being knocked down, you reclaim a little more of your power. Over time, you realize that rejection can't define you unless you let it. Instead, it becomes a test of how strongly you believe in yourself. The more you stand up for who you are, the more you'll attract people who truly see you, respect you, and appreciate you. And that kind of love, the kind that comes after you faced rejection, is deeper, truer, and way more satisfying. Assertion. Chiron and Aries often makes it hard for you to assert yourself. Maybe you've wanted to speak your mind, but something holds you back. You might worry that you'll upset someone, get laughed at, or be misunderstood. So instead of saying what you need to say, you stay quiet. You might even go along with things you don't agree with just to keep the peace. But here's the truth: your voice matters. Being assertive doesn't mean being loud or pushy. It means knowing what you believe and being willing to say it. It means telling someone when a boundary has been crossed, or speaking up when something doesn't feel right. Chiron's wound may make it feel scary at first, but every time you speak your truth, you're healing that wound. You're teaching yourself that your feelings are important. You're reminding yourself that you deserve to take up space. And with practice, being assertive becomes second nature. One day, you'll look back and realize that the person who used to stay silent has become someone who leads, who inspires, and who shows others how to speak from the heart. Leadership. Here's something surprising: the wound of Chiron and Aries often hides a powerful gift: leadership. But not the kind of leadership that shouts or demands attention. This is quiet leadership. It comes from experience, empathy, and real-life lessons. Because you've had to fight for your identity, you understand struggle in a way that others don't. That gives you the power to lead with compassion. People will be drawn to your honesty, your courage, and your story. They'll trust you, not because you have all the answers, but because you've been through it. You've made mistakes, faced fears, and gotten back up again. That makes you real. And being real is what makes a great leader. With Chiron and Aries, your leadership style will be unique. You might lead through creativity, through listening, or simply by being someone others can count on. You won't need to prove anything, you'll just live your truth, and others will follow. And the more you embrace your inner leader, the more you'll help others rise too. Independence. Chiron in Aries teaches you the value of independence, but it's not always an easy lesson. You may have grown up feeling like you had to figure things out on your own. Maybe people didn't show up for you the way you needed them to. That can make you feel like you can't rely on anyone but yourself. At first, this might feel lonely or even unfair. But slowly, you start to realize that being independent gives you freedom. You get to decide who you are. You don't have to wait for someone else's approval to do what's right for you. Over time, you learn how to listen to your own voice, follow your own path, and trust your gut. That doesn't mean you don't need others, it just means you're not lost without them. You become your own compass. And when others see your strength and self-trust, they'll be inspired to find their own. Independence doesn't mean walking alone forever, it means knowing you can walk alone when you need to. And that's powerful. Motivation. For someone with Chiron and Aries, motivation can be complicated. You might feel like you constantly have to prove yourself, to others and to yourself. Maybe you've been driven by the need to show the world you're strong, valuable, or worthy. But Chiron wants to shift that story. True motivation doesn't come from pressure or fear, it comes from passion. It comes from discovering what lights you up inside. Maybe it's helping others, creating something new, solving problems, or defending what you care about. When you find that thing that excites you, your motivation becomes unstoppable. You stop needing to compete or compare. Instead, you move forward because it feels right. That kind of motivation is more powerful than any outside reward. It lasts longer. It burns brighter. And it fuels a kind of confidence that doesn't need anyone's permission. With Chiron and Aries, the more you connect to your own passions, the more you'll inspire others to find theirs. Anger. Anger is a tricky feeling for people with Chiron and Aries. Sometimes you feel it rising, hot and fast, but you're not sure what to do with it. Maybe you were told as a kid that anger is bad, scary, or wrong. So you pushed it down. You hid it. But that didn't make it go away, it just made it louder inside. Chiron's wound often causes anger to build up until it finally explodes, or turns into sadness or shame. But guess what? Anger is not bad. It's a message. It tells you when something hurts, when someone crossed a line, or when you've been silent for too long. Learning to understand your anger is part of healing. Instead of seeing it as a monster, see it as a teacher. Ask yourself, why am I angry? What needs to change? Then respond with strength, not violence, but voice. Speak your truth. Set your boundaries. Use your anger as fuel for growth, not destruction. When you master your anger, it becomes a source of clarity and power. Visibility. Have you ever felt invisible? Like no one noticed your efforts, your ideas, or even your presence. That's a common feeling for people with Chiron and Aries. When your identity feels wounded, it can feel safer to hide. You might try to stay small, to avoid standing out. But deep down, part of you wants to be seen, really seen, for who you are. The healing begins when you stop waiting for someone to notice you, and you choose to notice yourself. You start showing up more boldly. Maybe you raise your hand when you're not sure. Maybe you wear what makes you happy, not what others expect. Maybe you start speaking up in groups, or sharing your art, or just walking with your head a little higher. The more you show up as yourself, the more visible you become, not just to others, but to your own heart. You realize you don't need to prove anything. You're already worthy of being seen. And when others finally notice your light, it's just a reflection of what you already knew deep down: you were never invisible. You were just waiting for the right moment to shine. Authenticity. Authenticity means being real. And for someone with Chiron and Aries, that can be one of the hardest and most important lessons. Maybe you've spent years trying to fit in. You've copied what others do, said what others say, and hidden parts of yourself just to feel accepted. But no matter how hard you try, something always feels off. That's because pretending hurts. It creates distance between you and your true self. But the good news is, every time you take off a mask, you come home to who you really are. You start to feel lighter, freer, more alive. Being authentic doesn't mean being perfect, it means being honest. It means laughing loudly if that's your style, or being quiet and thoughtful if that's who you are. It means saying I don't know when you don't, and I need help when you do. People are drawn to realness. They trust it. And when you live authentically, you give others permission to do the same. Chiron in Aries teaches you that your identity isn't something you have to create, it's something you discover. And when you find it, the world gets to meet the real you. And that person is amazing. Mentorship. Here's the bonus trait you've been waiting for: mentorship. This might surprise you, but one of the most healing paths for someone with Chiron in Aries is becoming a mentor to others. Yes, you. After all you've been through, you're uniquely equipped to help others who are struggling with the same kinds of wounds. You know what it's like to feel lost, unseen, and unsure. That means when you offer encouragement or advice, it comes from real understanding, not just words. People will feel safe with you. And in guiding others, you'll continue to heal parts of yourself. Chiron gives you wisdom through pain, but it also gives you purpose through teaching. Whether it's a friend, a sibling, or even a stranger, you have the power to be the light for someone else's path. You've now walked through the heart of Chiron in Aries, a journey of pain, courage, growth, and transformation. You've learned how the wound to your identity can shape your life, but also how it can lead to your greatest strength. You've seen how doubt becomes bravery, how rejection becomes wisdom, and how invisibility becomes a bold presence. Chiron doesn't promise an easy road, but it promises a meaningful one. Remember, your wound is not a weakness, it's a doorway. And every time you step through it, you move closer to your full, radiant self. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome back to Star Zodiacs, the channel where the stars help you unlock your true self. Today, we're diving deep into one of astrology's most mysterious and powerful placements, Chiron in Taurus. If you've ever struggled with feeling not good enough, with self-worth, or with needing too much from others or things to feel safe, then this video is for you. You see, Chiron is known as the wounded healer. In astrology, Chiron reveals your deepest inner wound. It shows where you've been hurt, often early in life, and where healing becomes your life's mission. The beauty of Chiron is that once you begin healing that wound, you not only become stronger, you become someone who can guide others through similar struggles. Your pain becomes your wisdom. Your scar becomes your strength. When Chiron is in Taurus in your birth chart, the wound has to do with value, your self-worth, your sense of security, and even your relationship with the physical world. Taurus is all about comfort, safety, possessions, and stability. But when Chiron is here, there's often a sense of not being enough, or needing to prove your value through what you own or what others think of you. In this video, we're going to walk through 10 powerful traits connected to Chiron in Taurus. These traits are not just random, they're life themes that affect the way you feel about yourself, your body, your money, your relationships, and your place in the world. Stay with us until the very end, because we've included a special bonus insight that might be the final missing piece to your healing journey. So let's get started on this path to rediscovering your worth. Your journey begins now. Insecurity. One of the first things that shows up with Chiron in Taurus is a deep feeling of insecurity. This doesn't just mean being shy. It's a quiet voice inside that says, "I'm not enough." This voice may have started early, maybe from being told you weren't good enough, or maybe from watching others be praised for things you didn't have. People with Chiron and Taurus often try to cover up these feelings by working too hard, buying things they don't need, or staying in relationships that don't feel safe just because they fear being alone. This insecurity isn't just about money, it's about value. You may question your worth even when people love you. You may wonder if you deserve comfort, peace, or happiness. But here's the truth, your value isn't based on what you do, what you wear, or what you own. Your worth is part of who you are. Chiron asks you to stop looking outside for proof that you're valuable and start feeling that truth from within. Scarcity. Another major theme is the fear of not having enough. This shows up as scarcity. Whether it's not enough money, food, love, or safety, people with Chiron and Taurus often feel like there's always something missing. Even when things are going well, there's a fear it could all be taken away. You might hold on to things too tightly, relationships, jobs, even junk, because deep down, you worry you won't be able to replace them. This wound can make it hard to relax. It can make people hoard things, stay in bad situations, or fear change. But healing begins when you learn to trust that you are supported, not just by the people around you, but by life itself. When you can look around and feel gratitude for what you already have, something begins to shift. You stop chasing and start feeling grounded. That's when abundance flows in naturally. Comparison. With Chiron and Taurus, comparison is a quiet thief of joy. You may constantly look around and see what others have, nicer homes, better bodies, more money, more followers, and think, why don't I have that? This mindset creates a cycle where you feel stuck and unworthy. You may start to believe that if you don't have those things, you're somehow behind or broken. But comparison only tells half the story. You don't see the challenges others face. You don't see the ways you're already rich in kindness, creativity, loyalty, and love. Chiron wants you to stop measuring your worth by someone else's yardstick. True value isn't about being ahead or behind. It's about knowing that who you are right now is already enough. Body. One of the deepest wounds can be tied to the body. Taurus rules the physical world, including your body and senses. If you have Chiron and Taurus, you may feel disconnected from your body, like it's not good enough, not attractive enough, or not safe. You might have struggled with weight, eating habits, or simply feeling comfortable in your own skin. This wound may come from childhood comments, health issues, or trauma. But healing comes when you begin to love and honor your body, not for how it looks, but for what it allows you to feel and experience. Walking barefoot in grass, tasting your favorite food, hugging someone you love, these are Taurus gifts. Reconnecting with your senses can help heal the wound and bring peace where there was once pain. Possessions. Sometimes, people with Chiron and Taurus feel they must collect things to feel secure. This isn't greed, it's fear. If you grew up without enough, or watched your family struggle, you might feel that safety means owning more. But this can lead to clutter, debt, or attachment to things that don't actually bring joy. The truth is, no item can fill the hole left by a lack of self-worth. That hole can only be filled by you, by learning that you're already whole. Healing means letting go of what you don't need and surrounding yourself with things that have meaning, not just value. Simplicity becomes powerful. And when you stop owning things out of fear, you start enjoying what you have with real gratitude. Approval. Many with this placement seek approval, sometimes without realizing it. You might go out of your way to please others, say yes when you want to say no, or stay silent to avoid conflict. Why? Because deep down, you fear that if someone disapproves, it means you're not valuable. But here's the thing, your worth doesn't depend on how others see you. It never did. Chiron invites you to stop performing and start showing up as your true self. When you stop chasing approval and start living in alignment with your values, you find peace. And you'll be surprised, many people will love the real you more than the version you thought you had to be. Stability. Stability can feel like everything to a Taurus Chiron. You may fear change more than others. The unknown can feel unsafe. So, you might stay in a job you hate, a relationship that's wrong, or a routine that no longer serves you, just because it feels familiar. But healing requires movement. It requires change. You don't have to jump into chaos, but you can take small steps toward what feels right. Stability is important, but true security comes from inside. When you trust yourself, you realize that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. That's the kind of strength Chiron wants to build in you. Sensuality. Many people with Chiron in Taurus have a complicated relationship with pleasure. They either avoid it, believing they don't deserve it, or overindulge, trying to numb their wounds. Whether it's food, sex, comfort, or luxury, Taurus loves the good things in life. But when wounded, these things become escapes instead of joys. Healing begins by learning that you are allowed to enjoy life. You are allowed to feel good, rest, and receive. Pleasure isn't bad, it's sacred. When you reconnect with your body and senses in a loving, respectful way, you awaken a deep inner peace. Sensuality becomes healing. And you remember that joy, too, is your birthright. Trust. Trust is often hard for someone with Chiron in Taurus. Whether it was broken early on or slowly eroded over time, trust becomes a challenge, not just with others, but with yourself and with life. You may doubt that things will work out, or feel like you have to control everything to stay safe. But healing means learning to trust again. To trust your gut, to trust that people can be kind, to trust that life can support you. Trust doesn't mean being naive, it means being brave. Chiron asks you to open your heart, even when it feels scary, and to know that vulnerability is not weakness. It's strength. Patience. Patience is the secret gift hidden inside this wound. Taurus moves slowly, and healing with Chiron and Taurus takes time. You may want quick results, fast answers, or instant confidence. But this kind of growth doesn't work that way. It builds slowly, like roots growing deep into the earth. And that's a good thing. Because when you build your self-worth slowly and honestly, it's unshakable. No one can take it from you. No loss, no mistake, no judgment can undo it. You become solid, inside and out. This is the quiet power of Taurus. And it's the power that Chiron wants you to claim as your own. Worthiness. Now here's the bonus trait, and perhaps the most important one, worthiness. With Chiron and Taurus, the ultimate wound is not feeling worthy. Worthy of love. Worthy of money. Worthy of comfort, safety, joy, or success. This belief can follow you everywhere, until you decide to change it. Worthiness isn't something you earn. It's something you already have. You were born with it. Your very existence proves that you matter. You don't have to hustle for it. You don't need anyone to give it to you. It's yours. And when you believe that, truly believe it, everything begins to change. Chiron in Taurus is a long journey, but it's one filled with beauty. It teaches you to find peace in yourself, not outside things. It guides you to love your body, trust your heart, and believe in your own value. The wound may have left you doubting your worth, but the healing will make you unshakable. You are not broken. You are becoming. And as you heal, you help others heal too. That's the power of the wounded healer. That's the gift of Chiron and Taurus. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome to Star Zodiacs, your celestial guide to self-discovery and cosmic healing. Today, we're diving deep into a powerful placement in your natal chart, Chiron in Gemini. But before we get started, here's a question to think about. Have you ever felt like no one really hears you? Like your words are floating in the air, never truly landing? If so, you might be carrying a wound that Chiron in Gemini reveals. Stay with us until the very end, because we're going to explore not just how this wound might have shown up in your life, but also how it can become your greatest strength. And don't miss the bonus trait at the end. It may completely shift how you view yourself and your voice. Chiron in astrology is often called the wounded healer. It represents a sensitive spot in your soul, something you were born with that often causes pain, but also carries your power to heal, grow, and guide others. When we talk about Chiron, we're not just talking about something that hurts. We're talking about something that, once understood, can become the very reason you shine. And when Chiron is in Gemini, that wound is tied to your voice, your mind, and how you connect to the world through communication. So let's begin this journey together. We'll explore what this placement means, how it may have affected you since childhood, and most importantly, how you can heal and rise through it. Are you ready to find your voice? Silence. When Chiron is in Gemini, one of the earliest wounds often appears in the form of silence. This isn't the peaceful silence of a quiet room, it's the kind of silence that feels heavy. As a child, you may have spoken but felt ignored. Maybe the people around you didn't understand what you were trying to say. Maybe you were shy, or perhaps someone laughed at your ideas or told you that you talked too much or not enough. Whatever the reason, silence became a response, a way to avoid the pain of feeling invisible or misunderstood. For some, this silence becomes a lifelong pattern. You hold your thoughts in, afraid that if you speak, others will judge you. Or worse, they'll still not listen. But this silence, while it seems safe, can also trap you. It blocks your creativity, your personality, and your power to connect. Recognizing this wound is the first step toward freeing your voice. Because your voice matters. And once you start using it, the silence no longer controls you. Misunderstood. Imagine being in a room full of people, speaking your truth, and yet feeling like nobody gets it. That's a common theme for those with Chiron in Gemini. You may have often felt misunderstood, even when you tried your best to explain things clearly. Maybe you used the wrong words, or maybe people simply weren't willing to understand you. Either way, this sense of being misread can lead to deep frustration and sadness. It's like trying to paint a picture with words, but no one sees the image you're creating. This can make you feel like something is wrong with you, like you're broken somehow. But you're not. Gemini is a sign that thrives on learning and connecting. If you felt misunderstood growing up, it's not because your ideas were wrong, it's because you were still learning how to shape them. Your journey is about learning to express your thoughts in a way that builds bridges, not walls. And with practice, you'll see how your mind is a beautiful gift, not a flaw. Hesitation. Have you ever had something important to say, but at the last second, you froze? Maybe you were about to answer a question in class, or tell someone how you really felt, but something held you back. That's hesitation, and it's a trait many with Chiron in Gemini carry. This pause is rooted in fear of being wrong, fear of being judged, or fear that your words won't come out the way you want them to. Gemini energy moves quickly, and when Chiron is here, that quickness can sometimes feel overwhelming. Your mind races, but your voice lags behind. You might replay conversations in your head long after they're over, wishing you had said something differently. This hesitation isn't about weakness, it's a defense mechanism built to protect your heart from being hurt again. But over time, this fear-based pause can limit your growth. Healing begins when you give yourself permission to speak, even if it's not perfect. Every time you share your voice, you're rewriting the story of fear into one of courage. And that courage is what unlocks your true potential. Comparison. When your Chiron is in Gemini, you might find yourself constantly comparing your mind to others. Maybe someone else seems smarter, quicker, or more articulate, and you begin to believe that you're somehow less than. This comparison trap can start early. Perhaps a sibling or classmate always seemed to have the right answers while you struggled to find the right words. And instead of celebrating your own unique way of thinking, you started to doubt it. But here's the truth: comparison is the thief of joy. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication, and everyone with this placement has a different communication style. Yours may be quieter, more reflective, or more poetic. That doesn't make it less valuable. In fact, your way of thinking might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. The world doesn't need a copy of someone else. It needs your original voice. And when you stop comparing and start appreciating your gifts, everything changes. Restlessness. There's a kind of mental restlessness that comes with Chiron in Gemini. It's like your brain is always running, full of questions, ideas, thoughts, and conversations. This can be exciting, but it can also be exhausting. When you don't feel safe expressing what's on your mind, all that energy gets bottled up. You might talk a lot to fill the silence, or you might become quiet, with your thoughts spinning non-stop inside. This restlessness can also show up as a constant search for information. You read, watch, listen, and absorb, but still feel like something is missing. That's because what you're really looking for isn't more facts, it's understanding. You want to understand yourself, your place in the world, and how to feel heard. When you begin to calm your mind and trust that you don't need to know everything all at once, restlessness begins to settle. And in that stillness, your true voice starts to rise. Anxiety. When words are your wound, it's no surprise that communication can cause anxiety. Whether it's talking in front of a crowd, texting someone back, or trying to explain your feelings, it can sometimes feel like walking on a tightrope. One wrong step and everything crashes. You may worry that you'll say something wrong, or that people will judge you, laugh, or ignore you. That fear creates pressure, and that pressure leads to anxiety. Chiron in Gemini often brings a sensitive nervous system. You may feel emotions through your body, tight shoulders, racing heart, shaky hands, especially when you're about to speak your truth. But here's the powerful part: that anxiety is not a punishment, it's a signal. It's your body telling you that what you have to say matters. The more you face this fear with kindness and patience, the more you learn to calm it. Speaking your truth won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Duality. Gemini is a sign of duality, twins, two sides, two voices. When Chiron lives here, you may feel torn between two versions of yourself. One side is confident and social, full of ideas and curiosity. The other side is unsure, reserved, and afraid to speak. This duality can feel confusing. You might be chatty one moment and silent the next. You might write beautifully but struggle to speak. Or you might speak well to strangers but feel nervous around loved ones. This inner tug-of-war can make you feel like you're not being real. But the truth is, both sides are real. They're just trying to protect you in different ways. Healing comes when you stop picking one over the other, and instead, learn to let them work together. Your confidence and your caution are both important. They help you balance thought and feeling, mind and heart. And through that balance, your full self can finally emerge. Expression. Chiron in Gemini teaches one of the most beautiful lessons of all: the power of expression. Whether it's through speaking, writing, drawing, music, or even dance, your soul needs to express what it holds inside. If you were ever told to be quiet or felt like your words didn't matter, it can take time to feel safe expressing yourself again. But every time you do, you build a bridge back to who you really are. Expression doesn't have to be loud or perfect. It just has to be real. When you tell your story, you give others permission to do the same. When you share your truth, you help others feel seen. That's the magic of healing with Chiron and Gemini. You become not just a voice for yourself, but a voice for others who still feel silent. Your expression becomes your superpower. Mentorship. Here's where the wound transforms into a gift. People with Chiron and Gemini often become incredible mentors, teachers, or guides, not because they had it easy, but because they know what it's like to struggle. You felt the silence, the fear, the doubt. And that gives you a deep sense of empathy. You don't just share facts, you share understanding. You don't just talk, you connect. Whether it's helping a friend through a tough time, guiding a younger sibling, or becoming a teacher, your journey equips you to help others in a special way. And every time you help someone find their voice, your own voice gets stronger. Mentorship isn't just about teaching, it's about healing together. And in this healing, your wound becomes your wisdom. Redemption. The final core trait of Chiron in Gemini is redemption, the beautiful, full circle moment where the wound becomes the light. This isn't a flash of overnight healing. It's the quiet strength that comes from years of growth, learning, and rising every time you fell. You find your way back to your voice. You speak with courage. You write with clarity. You listen with love. And in doing so, you redeem every moment you felt lost or silenced. Redemption doesn't mean pretending the pain never happened. It means using the pain to create something meaningful. It means turning your scars into stars. When you fully embrace your voice, your mind, and your story, you no longer carry your wound, you carry your gift. And the world needs that gift more than you know. Curiosity. Here's your bonus trait, and it might just be the key to unlocking everything: curiosity. At the heart of Gemini is an endless desire to learn, explore, and ask questions. Chiron in Gemini can sometimes turn that curiosity inward in a painful way, like asking, "What's wrong with me?" But when healed, that curiosity becomes a spark for joy. You start asking different questions. What else can I learn? What more can I say? How can I grow? That shift in questions leads to a shift in life. Curiosity is what turns wounds into wisdom. So stay curious, because every question you ask is a doorway to healing. Chiron in Gemini is a journey of the mind, the voice, and the heart. It's about taking the wound of being unheard and transforming it into a message the world needs to hear. Yes, it begins with pain, but it ends in purpose. Through silence, misunderstanding, anxiety, and restlessness, you find your way to expression, connection, and redemption. You don't just heal, you help others heal too. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome back to Star Zodiacs, your guide to the stars and everything they reveal about our inner world. Today, we're diving into something truly powerful, the story of Chiron in Cancer. Have you ever felt like your heart needed a home? Or that no matter how much love you give, there's still a part of you that feels a little empty? If that sounds familiar, this episode is for you. Chiron in astrology is known as the wounded healer. It's not a planet, but a small celestial body discovered in 1977, orbiting between Saturn and Uranus. Even though it's small, its impact in your birth chart is massive. Chiron shows where we've been hurt the most, but it also shows where we can grow, heal, and help others because of what we've learned from our own pain. If your Chiron is in Cancer, your deepest wound lies in the world of emotions, family, and feeling safe. But the beauty is this: your path to healing can turn you into a nurturing light for yourself and others. So stick around until the end of the video, because we're not just revealing 10 key traits of Chiron in Cancer, we're also giving you a bonus insight that ties it all together. You won't want to miss it. Let's begin our journey into understanding this emotional healer of the zodiac. Abandonment. The first and most noticeable wound for those with Chiron in Cancer is the fear of abandonment. This wound often stems from early childhood experiences where love may have been inconsistent, unpredictable, or missing altogether. Maybe a parent wasn't around emotionally or physically. Maybe you were given food and clothes, but not the emotional hugs and safe words you needed to feel truly loved. As a result, a deep fear takes root. You might grow up always looking for people to stay. You try hard to be what others need so they won't leave. But that fear never quite leaves your side. You may find yourself clinging too tightly to friends, partners, or even your own children because the thought of being left again is just too painful. This is the Chiron wound at work. But here's the good news: once you recognize this pattern, you can start to heal it. You can begin to offer yourself the stability and love you've always craved from others. You can become the home you never had. Vulnerability. People with Chiron and Cancer often struggle with vulnerability. To them, showing emotions feels dangerous, like opening the door just enough to let someone in, only for them to hurt you once they're inside. You might have learned that crying or expressing hurt brought criticism, punishment, or silence. So, you became strong on the outside. Tough. Maybe even cold. But deep down, you feel things so intensely. You want to open up. You want to trust. Yet each time you try, that old fear creeps in: what if I get hurt again? So, you hide. You protect. You pretend. Learning to be vulnerable without feeling broken is your challenge and your gift. Because when you slowly begin to share your truth, even with just one safe person, you create a powerful space of connection. Others begin to see your true beauty, not in your strength, but in your softness. Home. The idea of home means everything to someone with Chiron and Cancer, but it's also where the pain often lives. Maybe your home life as a child didn't feel safe. Maybe there was yelling, silence, or the feeling that you didn't belong. Maybe your physical home changed too often, or you felt like you had to earn your right to be there. So now, you chase the feeling of home everywhere. In relationships, you might try to build the perfect family. You decorate with cozy touches. You cook meals, light candles, and try to create what you missed. But even with all of that, something still feels off. Because the real home you need isn't on the outside, it's inside you. Healing your Chiron means finding a sense of home in your own soul. It means learning to feel safe in your own body, your own heart, and your own presence. When you do that, the outside world begins to feel more welcoming too. Mother. Chiron in Cancer often carries a wound connected to the mother figure. This doesn't always mean your mom was bad or unloving. Sometimes she was absent. Sometimes she was overwhelmed. Sometimes she tried her best, but it didn't feel like enough to you. This can leave a scar, one that says, "I'm not worthy of being cared for." You might grow up needing to mother others, even when no one asked you to. Or you might reject mothering altogether, pushing people away if they try to care for you. Healing begins when you realize that your mother's actions weren't about your worth, they were about her own wounds. And now, you get to choose something new. You can repair it yourself. You can give yourself the kind of love, attention, and forgiveness you needed as a child. That's where the true transformation begins. Safety. For Chiron in Cancer, emotional safety is everything, but it's also what you may have lacked the most. Safety doesn't just mean being protected from harm. It means being able to express your feelings without judgment. It means knowing that you won't be shamed, ignored, or punished for just being you. If this wasn't part of your early life, you may have developed a defense mechanism, being overly careful, walking on eggshells, or trying to please everyone just to avoid emotional conflict. You might find it hard to trust people or environments. You might feel anxious in relationships, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Healing this wound involves creating environments, both inner and outer, where you feel secure. This may include therapy, supportive friends, or even rituals that help you ground your emotions. The more you build this safety net, the more you feel free to be your full self. Sensitivity. Chiron and Cancer people are incredibly sensitive. This isn't a weakness. It's your strength. You pick up on other people's feelings without them even saying a word. You can sense shifts in energy, mood, and tone. But when you're unhealed, this sensitivity feels like a curse. You might get overwhelmed easily. Crowds, arguments, or even sad news can knock you off balance for hours or days. You may try to shut it all out just to survive. But that's not the path of healing. The real healing comes when you embrace your sensitivity. When you stop seeing it as something to fix and start seeing it as something to use. Because this gift allows you to comfort others, to listen deeply, and to create peace in a chaotic world. You are a natural empath, and that's magical. Protection. Because of their deep sensitivity and history of emotional hurt, people with Chiron in Cancer often become emotional protectors. You might build walls, not just for yourself but for others too. You take on the role of the shield. The guardian. The silent strength. Sometimes this makes you the rock in your family or friend group. Everyone leans on you. But inside, you feel tired, unseen, or even resentful. Because while you're busy protecting others, who protects you? The healing journey involves learning when to put the shield down. You don't always have to be the strong one. You are allowed to ask for help. You are allowed to rest. Letting someone else hold you, even just for a moment, is a powerful step toward healing your Chiron wound. The longing. One of the deepest desires of someone with Chiron in Cancer is the feeling of belonging. But because of past emotional wounds, this feeling often feels just out of reach. You might have felt like the odd one out in your family. Like you were too much or not enough. That feeling can stick with you long into adulthood. You might try to fit in by changing yourself. You smile when you want to cry. You say yes when you mean no. You become a chameleon, hoping that if you blend in, you'll finally feel accepted. But healing this wound means realizing you don't have to change who you are to belong. The right people will love the real you. The quirky you. The emotional you. When you finally accept yourself fully, you create space for others to do the same. That's when true belonging begins. Healing. The beauty of Chiron in Cancer is that once you begin your healing journey, you become a light for others. Your pain becomes your power. You begin to understand what others need, not because you read it in a book, but because you lived it. You may become a caregiver, a counselor, a teacher, or simply a friend who listens with compassion. You offer warmth in a cold world. You offer softness in hard places. And the more you give that love to yourself, the more you can give it to others without draining your spirit. Healing doesn't mean the pain disappears. It means the pain no longer controls you. It becomes a part of your story, not the end of it. And that story can guide others home. Intuition. With Chiron in Cancer, your intuition is incredibly strong, but it may have been ignored or shut down when you were young. You may have been told you were too emotional or that your feelings didn't make sense. So, you learned not to trust your gut. But your intuition is one of your greatest gifts. It helps you navigate life with wisdom. It lets you sense what's wrong before it becomes a problem. It shows you who to trust and where to go, if you're willing to listen. Part of your healing is learning to trust your feelings again. To listen to that quiet voice inside that says, this is right, or this is not okay. Your intuition is not weakness. It's guidance. And the more you honor it, the more powerful it becomes. Legacy. Here's the bonus insight for Chiron in Cancer. You are here to leave a legacy of love. Your journey wasn't just about surviving your pain, it's about transforming it into something lasting. You're meant to build emotional foundations that outlive you. Whether it's through your family, your community, or your words, your story becomes a healing force. Your softness, your care, your ability to love deeply, these are the treasures you leave behind. And even if you never received those things in childhood, you now have the power to give them, not just to others, but to yourself. Chiron in Cancer is not an easy path. It asks you to walk into the places where your heart has been hurt the most. But in doing so, It gives you the chance to become something rare and beautiful, a healer, a nurturer, a safe place in a chaotic world. Your wound may have started in childhood, but your healing creates ripples that last a lifetime. Remember, every step you take toward healing yourself also helps the world heal a little more. So keep going. Keep growing. And never forget, you are your own home. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome back to Star Zodiacs, the channel where we explore the stars to uncover the secrets of who you really are. Today, we're diving deep into a powerful and emotional placement in astrology, Chiron in Leo. Now, if you've never heard of Chiron before, let us explain. In astrology, Chiron is called the wounded healer. It's not a planet, but a celestial body discovered in 1977 that floats between Saturn and Uranus. Chiron represents the deepest emotional wound we carry and the way we can heal from it. But here's the twist: your biggest pain can also become your greatest power. So what does it mean if your Chiron is in Leo? Leo is a sign full of boldness, creativity, love, and performance. But when Chiron lands here, it can create deep fears about being seen, being loved, or feeling worthy of the spotlight. You might hide your talent, or feel crushed when your efforts aren't praised. But here's where it gets interesting: once you start healing, your journey can turn you into someone who inspires others just by being yourself. Stick with us until the very end, because we have a special bonus insight that many people with Chiron and Leo don't even know about, but once you do, it could change how you see yourself forever. Let's begin. Recognition. If you have Chiron and Leo, you may feel like the world doesn't truly see you. It can be as if you're standing in a crowded room, raising your hand, waiting for someone to notice, but no one ever does. Maybe when you were younger, you did something you were really proud of, like drawing a picture, acting in a play, or helping someone, and the people around you barely reacted. That moment, or moments like it, left a mark deep inside. You may have started to believe, if no one claps for me, maybe I'm not good enough. That wound can stay with you for years. You might start doing extra things just to be noticed, trying harder in school, being extra funny, wearing bold clothes, or acting in ways that don't feel like the real you. Or, you may go the other direction and hide your talents, thinking, why bother? Both are reactions to that early pain of not being truly seen. Recognition, for someone with Chiron and Leo, isn't just about getting attention. It's about feeling understood. It's about someone looking at you and saying, I see your heart. I see your effort. You matter. The pain comes when that doesn't happen. But healing begins when you give yourself the recognition you always wanted. When you look in the mirror and say, I am proud of me, you start to repair that old wound. The more you honor your own growth, without waiting for applause, the more your spirit begins to shine naturally. You stop needing the world to cheer for you because you become your own cheerleader. Creativity. Leo is the sign of the artist, the storyteller, the performer. And if you have Chiron here, your soul is bursting with creative fire. You might have loved drawing, writing songs, dressing up, dancing, or imagining new worlds. But somewhere along the way, someone or something may have told you that your creativity wasn't good enough, or worse, that it didn't matter. Maybe a parent or teacher criticized your ideas. Maybe your friends laughed at your drawing. Maybe you watched someone else get praise while your efforts went unnoticed. Over time, you might have started to believe that you're not creative, or that what you make doesn't count. And that's where the wound begins. Chiron and Leo hides the key to unlocking your creativity, but it's covered by fear. The fear of being judged, of not being perfect, of failing in public. You may feel stuck, like you have this bright imagination but don't know how to let it out. Or worse, like it's too late to try. But here's the truth, your creativity is healing. Every time you paint, dance, sing, or build something from your heart, you reconnect with who you really are. Not for likes, not for grades, just for the joy of it. Creativity isn't about being the best. It's about being free. So start small. Doodle. Hum a tune. Decorate your space. Let your inner artist come out and play. That's where the magic happens. Validation. Validation means feeling like your feelings and efforts matter. For someone with Chiron and Leo, this can be one of the most painful wounds. You might have been the kid who tried really hard and still felt invisible. Maybe you cleaned your room, got good grades, or made something amazing, but the praise you longed for never came. Or, worse, you were told it wasn't enough. This can create a deep craving for validation. As you grow older, you might start to chase compliments or approval just to feel okay. You might wait for someone to say, "Good job," or "You're amazing," before you can believe it yourself. And if they don't say it, you feel like a failure, even if you did something incredible. The wound of not being validated can make you doubt your worth constantly. It can lead to overachieving, perfectionism, or shutting down completely. You might even feel guilty when you do something well, like you don't deserve to feel proud unless someone else confirms it. But healing means learning to validate yourself. It means saying, "I did a good job," even when no one notices. It means feeling proud, not because someone clapped, but because you did your best. Self-validation is like watering a plant. It helps your confidence grow from the inside out. And once you start, you'll notice you don't need others to tell you you're enough, you'll already know it. Spotlight. The spotlight is where Leo feels at home. But when Chiron is in Leo, the spotlight can feel like a scary place. You may want to be seen, you may even dream of performing, leading, or standing out, but when it actually happens, you feel small or afraid. The fear of being judged, laughed at, or rejected keeps you from stepping forward. Maybe you raised your hand in school once and someone made fun of your answer. Or maybe you shared your idea in a group and it was ignored. Over time, you started to believe that being seen means being hurt. So you learned to stay quiet, to stay safe. But deep down, a part of you still wants to shine. Chiron and Leo creates this inner tug-of-war. Part of you wants attention, the other part fears it. You may go back and forth between hiding and performing, unsure of what's real. That's okay. It means you're human and healing. The truth is, the spotlight doesn't have to be scary. When you let yourself be seen as you truly are, not perfect, not polished, just real, you give others the gift of your authenticity. You show them that it's safe to shine. You don't need to be the loudest or the brightest. Just standing in your truth, gently and fully, is powerful beyond words. Joy. Joy is a natural part of Leo's spirit. It's that big, belly laugh kind of happiness that comes from being playful, silly, and free. But with Chiron and Leo, that joy can feel distant, like something you once had but lost. Maybe you were told to grow up, to stop being so loud, or to act more serious. Maybe your joyful spirit was shut down or made fun of. As a result, you might find it hard to let go and play. You might feel uncomfortable being silly or relaxed. You may even think joy is something you have to earn, like only after you've worked hard or done something big. But joy isn't a reward. It's a birthright. It's the sunshine in your soul that reminds you you're alive. Healing this wound means reconnecting with your inner child, the part of you that used to laugh just because something was funny, that danced for no reason, that found magic in small things. Start by doing something joyful every day. It can be tiny, blowing bubbles, watching a cartoon, baking cookies, jumping on a trampoline. Each time you allow yourself to feel that lightness, you heal a piece of the past. You remind yourself that it's safe to feel happy. And joy, once reawakened, becomes your superpower. Love. Leo rules the heart, and with Chiron here, Love is both the deepest longing and the deepest fear. Maybe love came with conditions. Maybe you only felt loved when you did something right, or felt unloved when you made a mistake. Maybe someone you trusted hurt you. These moments created a wound that whispers, "I'm not lovable unless I'm perfect." That belief can follow you into your friendships, your romantic relationships, even how you treat yourself. You might feel afraid to open your heart, scared that if someone sees the real you, they'll leave. You might give too much, hoping to be loved in return. Or you might push people away before they can hurt you. But here's the beautiful truth: love doesn't have to hurt. Real love accepts, supports, and embraces even the messy parts. Healing means learning to love yourself first. To say, "I'm worthy of love, even on my worst days." When you start giving that kind of love to yourself, you'll start attracting people who do the same. You'll begin to trust again, to open your heart without fear. And in that space, you'll feel something that lasts longer than any heartbreak: true, unconditional love. Performance. With Chiron and Leo, you might feel like life is a stage, and you always have to be performing. Maybe you learned that people only liked you when you were funny, helpful, talented, or cheerful. So you became the entertainer, the helper, the one who always had it together. But deep down, it's exhausting. You might be smiling on the outside while feeling broken inside. You might keep acting like everything's fine, even when it's not, because you think that's the only way people will like you. That kind of mask can be heavy. But you don't have to wear it forever. Healing means realizing that you are enough, even when you're not performing. You don't have to be on all the time. You can be quiet, tired, sad, angry, and still be lovable. The people who truly care about you will love the real you, not the version you perform. When you take off the mask and let others see your true face, something amazing happens. You feel safe. You feel free. And that's when real connection begins. Comparison. Have you ever looked at someone else and thought, "They're so much better than me"? If you have Chiron and Leo, this may happen often. You might compare your looks, your talents, your life, even your personality, and always feel like you come up short. That's the wound of comparison. Maybe someone close to you was always praised while you were overlooked. Maybe you were compared to a sibling or friend. Over time, you began to feel like you had to compete just to be seen. And that can make you feel either very insecure, or like you always have to win just to feel okay. But you are not them, and that's a beautiful thing. Your story is yours. Your voice is yours. You don't have to outshine anyone. You only need to shine as yourself. Healing means celebrating others without feeling smaller. It means looking at your reflection and saying, "I'm not like anyone else, and that's my gift." The more you embrace your unique light, the less power comparison has. And one day, you'll look around and realize, there is no competition when you're being your true self. Rejection. Rejection hurts everyone, but with Chiron and Leo, it can feel especially sharp. Maybe someone laughed at your dream, or ignored your feelings, or walked away when you needed them most. That pain might have left you thinking, it's safer to hide than to risk being hurt again. This wound can lead to self-protection. You might hold back your ideas, your love, your talent. You might pretend not to care, even when you care deeply. You might even reject others first, just so they don't get the chance to do it to you. But rejection doesn't mean you're unworthy. It just means that person or place couldn't see your value. And their opinion isn't your truth. Healing means realizing that rejection is redirection. It's life guiding you toward people and places that will truly appreciate your heart. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not unlovable. You are someone with a bright, brave soul that deserves to be fully seen and accepted. When you stop fearing rejection, you start standing in your power. And that's when you become unstoppable. Leadership. Leo is a born leader, but when Chiron is here, leadership can feel scary or unwanted. Maybe you tried to lead once and were told you were bossy or wrong. Maybe you were laughed at when you had a big idea. Or maybe no one ever encouraged you to speak up. That creates a fear: if I step forward, I'll be knocked down. So you stay quiet. You wait for others to take charge. You second-guess your ideas, even when they're great. And deep down, you feel frustrated, because you know you were meant to lead. Leadership doesn't mean being the loudest. It means being brave enough to trust your own voice. It means making decisions from the heart, not the fear. When you start leading your own life, setting your own goals, making your own choices, you begin to step into your true power. People will notice. They'll be drawn to your strength. And before you know it, you'll be the kind of leader others admire, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it by healing. Legacy. Here's something most people don't talk about with Chiron and Leo: your life has the power to leave a legacy. Not because you're famous, but because of the way you inspire others through your healing journey. People with Chiron and Leo often grow up to be mentors, artists, teachers, or role models, not because they never struggled, but because they learned how to rise. Your pain has meaning. Your story has value. And when you embrace your path and share your light, no matter how imperfect, it becomes a spark that lights the way for others. Your legacy isn't just about what you do. It's about who you become when you choose to heal. Chiron and Leo is a journey of rediscovering your light after years of feeling invisible, unloved, or unworthy. It's about going back to the parts of yourself that were told to be quiet, small, or perfect, and letting them come alive again. You don't need to be flawless. You just need to be real. As you heal, you become a living example of courage, creativity, and confidence. You show others that it's okay to be vulnerable, to be seen, to create from the heart. And that kind of light can change the world. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most, or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome back to Star Zodiacs, where we explore the stars to better understand ourselves and those around us. Today, we're diving deep into something that's often overlooked in astrology, but it holds powerful secrets about your inner world and your healing journey. That something is Chiron, also called the wounded healer. In astrology, Chiron isn't a planet like Mars or Jupiter. It's actually a small object found between Saturn and Uranus. But don't let its size fool you, its meaning is massive. Chiron shows us where we carry our deepest emotional wound. It's that place inside us that might hurt over and over, and yet, it's also where we have the potential to become incredible healers, teachers, and guides for others. This video will specifically explore Chiron in Virgo. If you or someone you know has this placement in their birth chart, you'll want to stay all the way to the end, because we're going to unlock how Virgo's desire for perfection and service becomes a powerful path to healing. And don't miss the special bonus trait in paragraph 11, it's a surprising twist you won't want to miss. So, sit back, get comfortable, and let's begin this journey of healing, growth, and self-discovery. Perfection. Chiron in Virgo often comes with a deep and constant feeling of needing everything to be perfect. From schoolwork to personal appearance, from relationships to daily habits, people with this placement may always feel like something is slightly off. There's a voice in the back of the mind whispering, "You could do better." That voice doesn't come from pride. It comes from pain, a wound that was likely created in childhood where small mistakes were treated like big problems. Perhaps caregivers or teachers were overly critical, or maybe there was pressure to never fail. Over time, this creates a fear of imperfection and a belief that being flawed means being unworthy. The wound to perfection becomes a lifelong pattern, editing, adjusting, second-guessing. But here's the truth, healing begins when you stop trying to fix everything. Chiron in Virgo teaches that perfection is not the goal. It's the illusion. The real magic happens when you accept your messiness, your quirks, and even your so-called failures. This shift brings deep relief and starts the process of true inner peace. Service. Virgo is a sign deeply connected to helping others. But for someone with Chiron in Virgo, this desire to serve can become a trap. It might begin as genuine kindness, cleaning up, organizing, volunteering, taking care of others. But slowly, it can become a way to hide the wound. Some people with this placement believe they must earn love by doing everything for everyone. They think, if I help enough, they'll accept me. If I'm useful enough, I'll be safe. This can lead to burnout and resentment. People may take advantage of you. You might feel invisible or unappreciated. Healing means remembering that your worth is not tied to how much you give. Service is beautiful, but not when it's done from guilt or fear. The key is to serve from joy, not obligation. When you help others because it feels right, not because you feel broken, you step into your true power. Control. One of the biggest challenges for someone with Chiron in Virgo is the need to control everything. It might show up in small ways, like needing a clean room, a perfect schedule, or doing things a certain way. But underneath that need is fear, fear that things will fall apart, fear that chaos will hurt you, fear that if you're not in control, you'll be judged or abandoned. Control feels safe. But in truth, it keeps you locked in anxiety. The more you try to control, the more exhausted you feel. Healing means learning to let go. Trust that not everything has to be planned. Trust that even if things go wrong, you'll still be okay. Start by letting small things be imperfect. Leave a dish in the sink. Skip a task on your to-do list. Watch what happens. Often, nothing terrible follows, and that's when freedom begins. Criticism. Chiron in Virgo often experiences deep wounds from criticism. It may have started young, with adults pointing out mistakes more than praising efforts. As a result, people with this placement become incredibly hard on themselves, and sometimes others, too. You might find yourself scanning everything for errors. A misspelled word. A wrinkled shirt. A wrong tone of voice. It becomes a habit of judgment. But here's the irony, behind every criticism is the hope for love. If I fix this, maybe I'll finally be enough. Healing means transforming criticism into compassion. Instead of pointing out flaws, start asking, what does this person, or part of me, need to feel safe? You'll find that kindness, not critique, brings the deepest healing, both for you and for others. Health. Virgo rules the body, routines, and wellness, so when Chiron is in this sign, there's often a wound around health. You may have struggled with chronic illness, body image, or anxiety about food and fitness. Some people with Chiron in Virgo become obsessed with their health, counting calories, researching symptoms, chasing the perfect diet. Others go the opposite way, ignoring their needs out of frustration or fear. At its root, this wound is about feeling unsafe in your own body. Healing comes from treating the body like a friend, not a project. Instead of fixing, start listening. Ask your body what it needs. Rest when you're tired. Eat when you're hungry. Move in ways that feel good. The more you reconnect with your body's wisdom, the more grounded and strong you become. Routine. Routine can be both a comfort and a cage for people with Chiron in Virgo. On one hand, structure gives a sense of stability. On the other hand, it can become obsessive, a rigid checklist that must be followed, or else anxiety strikes. This wound often comes from growing up in unpredictable environments. Maybe your world felt chaotic, so you created order to feel safe. But when routine becomes the ruler of your life, it limits joy. Healing means becoming flexible with structure. Keep the habits that support you, but allow room for spontaneity. Try switching up your routine in small ways. Take a different route. Say yes to something unplanned. You'll discover that freedom and security can exist together. Life doesn't fall apart when you bend the rules, sometimes it blooms. Logic. Virgo is an earth sign ruled by Mercury, making it highly logical and analytical. With Chiron here, there may be a wound around relying too much on logic while ignoring emotions. You may feel safest when things make sense. But life doesn't always follow rules. Emotions aren't equations. Sometimes, people hurt you and you don't know why. Sometimes, you feel sad and there's no clear reason. This can create internal conflict. Why do I feel this way? I shouldn't. You may even shame yourself for having feelings. Healing begins when you allow your heart to speak, even when it doesn't make logical sense. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to feel it. Journaling, therapy, art, or even sitting with your emotions without judging them, these become tools for transformation. Shame. At the core of Chiron in Virgo is often a deep, hidden shame. A feeling of not being good enough. A sense that if people really knew you, they'd leave. This shame grows in silence. You might pretend everything's fine, smile when you're hurting, and hide parts of yourself you think are too much. But shame only has power when it's kept in the dark. Healing means bringing light to the shadows. Speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Admit your flaws, and love yourself anyway. Shame cannot survive when you are honest and kind with yourself. Surround yourself with people who see your imperfections and love you even more because of them. That's where true healing begins, in being seen, not in being perfect. Productivity. In the world of Virgo, productivity often becomes the measure of worth. With Chiron in this sign, you may feel like you always have to be doing something useful. Resting feels wrong. Relaxing feels like failure. But this belief is rooted in a wound, the idea that you are only valuable when you are achieving something. This leads to overwork, stress, and sometimes total exhaustion. The truth is, your worth has nothing to do with your output. Healing means learning to rest without guilt. Spend time doing nothing, and notice the thoughts that come up. Remind yourself, you don't need to earn rest. You were born worthy. Productivity is not your identity. You are loved even when you're still. Humility. Virgo is humble by nature, but when Chiron is here, that humility can become self-erasure. You may struggle to take credit, feel uncomfortable with compliments, or dismiss your accomplishments. It was nothing, you say. Anyone could have done it. But this is the wound talking, a fear that shining too brightly will bring rejection or judgment. Healing means owning your gifts without shrinking. It's okay to be good at something. It's okay to be proud. Humility doesn't mean hiding. It means shining without needing to prove anything. Let people see your light. The more you allow yourself to be seen and celebrated, the more others are inspired to do the same. Alchemy. Here's the bonus trait we promised, and it's one of the most beautiful aspects of Chiron in Virgo, alchemy. People with this placement have an incredible gift, the ability to take pain, transform it, and create something helpful for others. Whether it's writing, teaching, caregiving, or simply being a kind presence, your journey becomes a roadmap for others. The wounds you carry are real. But so is your healing. And when you share your story, when you show others how you rose from your own struggle, you become a living symbol of hope. That's the alchemy of Chiron in Virgo, turning pain into purpose. Turning scars into strength. Turning wounds into wisdom. Chiron in Virgo is a powerful placement that speaks to the quiet struggle many face, the fight to be perfect, to be useful, to be accepted. But behind that struggle is a deep heart, a wise soul, and a powerful healer waiting to rise. Your healing journey is not about fixing what's broken. It's about learning that you were never broken to begin with. You are worthy as you are, messy, real, imperfect, and beautiful. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome to Star Zodiacs, your trusted guide for understanding the cosmic forces that shape our lives. Today, we're diving deep into one of astrology's most powerful and personal placements, Chiron in Libra. You may have heard of Chiron being called the wounded healer, but what does that really mean for you? In a natal chart, Chiron reveals where we carry our deepest emotional wounds, those hidden scars that often stem from childhood or past experiences. These aren't just ordinary pain points. They represent soul-level challenges we are here to face, heal, and ultimately grow from. But here's the magic. The very place we hurt the most is also where we can become the most powerful healers, for ourselves and for others. When Chiron is in Libra, the wounds revolve around relationships, fairness, and balance. People with this placement often experience deep emotional turmoil when it comes to love, partnerships, and justice. But there's more. By understanding this placement, you don't just uncover your pain, you unlock your power. Make sure you stay with us until the very end, because we've saved a bonus trait that ties everything together and gives you an extra insight into how to navigate this journey of healing and transformation. Imbalance. The first and most noticeable trait of Chiron in Libra is an internal sense of imbalance. People with this placement often feel like they are constantly walking a tightrope, trying to maintain peace and harmony in their relationships, even at their own expense. They may find themselves being the peacemaker in conflicts that have nothing to do with them, or sacrificing their own desires just to avoid an argument. This pattern often begins in childhood, perhaps growing up in a household where parents fought often or where love came with conditions. These early experiences leave a deep mark, making it hard for them to feel safe expressing their true selves. As they grow, they may find it difficult to identify what balance really means for them. They might swing between extremes, overgiving or shutting down completely. Healing begins when they recognize that peace should never come at the cost of their own inner harmony. Codependency. Another common pattern in Chiron and Libra is codependency. This shows up when someone feels like they are only complete when they are with another person. They may look to others for validation, approval, and a sense of identity. In relationships, this can lead to staying in unhealthy dynamics for far too long, out of fear of being alone or a belief that they don't deserve better. It can also manifest in always putting others' needs first, to the point of losing themselves in the process. These behaviors don't just appear out of nowhere. They usually grow from a deep wound, perhaps feeling unseen, unheard, or unimportant in earlier life. The journey to healing this trait lies in learning to love and value oneself independently. When a person with Chiron in Libra starts developing a strong sense of self-worth, they break free from needing others to complete them and instead invite healthy, balanced connections. Betrayal. One of the most painful wounds for Chiron in Libra individuals often comes in the form of betrayal, especially in close partnerships. These betrayals might be obvious, like infidelity or abandonment, or they may be more subtle, such as emotional neglect or manipulation. What makes betrayal so intense for someone with this placement is their deep longing for fairness and loyalty. Even small breaches of trust can leave them feeling shattered. Because they value justice and commitment so highly, betrayal doesn't just feel like a broken promise, it feels like a violation of the very foundation they stand on. Healing this wound involves learning to set clear boundaries and choosing partners who reflect the loyalty and integrity they offer. Over time, they become wiser in love, not closed off, but discerning. Through forgiveness and self-respect, they learn that betrayal doesn't define their worth, it reveals where healing still needs to happen. Silence. Chiron in Libra can bring a wound around silence, not the peaceful kind, but the stifling kind. People with this placement may find it hard to speak up, especially when it comes to voicing their needs in relationships. They may fear that being honest will lead to conflict, rejection, or loss. So instead, they stay quiet, even when something is hurting them. This silence often starts early, when they were taught either directly or indirectly that their voice didn't matter. Maybe they were told to be nice or keep the peace, and they interpreted that as staying silent even when they were hurting. The result? They grow up to be adults who don't feel safe expressing their truth. But healing begins when they start practicing honest communication, even in small ways. Over time, they learn that true harmony isn't about avoiding conflict, it's about being real and being heard. Justice. Fairness is everything to someone with Chiron in Libra. Their soul cries out when they see injustice, whether it's in their own life or in the world around them. This makes them strong advocates for equality, fairness, and truth. But ironically, their own lives often start off with an overwhelming sense of injustice. They might feel like they were treated unfairly by family members, friends, or society in general. This wound can lead to an inner rage or frustration that they often suppress because they fear it will make things worse. However, when they channel that energy into activism, art, or meaningful conversations, they become powerful voices for change. The journey for them is learning how to balance their passion for justice with self-compassion. They realize that not every battle is theirs to fight, and that healing their own sense of injustice is just as important as fixing the world around them. Projection. A fascinating trait of Chiron in Libra is projection. Because they are so focused on others, what others think, how others feel, what others need, they sometimes forget to check in with themselves. This creates a tendency to project their own wounds onto their partners. For example, if they fear being abandoned, they might become clingy or accuse their partner of being distant, even if that's not the case. Or if they fear betrayal, they may read too much into harmless actions. This projection stems from a deep fear of being hurt again, and so their inner world becomes tangled up with the outer one. Healing comes from learning to pause and reflect, is this about them, or is this about something I haven't healed yet? As they build emotional awareness, they start to see relationships more clearly and create space for healthy love rather than repeating old patterns. Validation. Validation is another major theme in Chiron and Libra. People with this placement often seek external approval to feel worthy. They want to be liked, accepted, and praised, and when they don't receive that, it can feel like a deep emotional wound. This can lead to people-pleasing, changing themselves to fit in, or hiding parts of who they are. But over time, this need for validation becomes exhausting. It keeps them from living authentically. The healing path begins when they start asking themselves, what do I think of me, rather than what do others think of me? By learning to validate their own emotions, choices, and identity, they begin to reclaim their power. The more they live in alignment with their true self, the less they need the world to applaud them. Self-validation becomes their superpower, and they radiate a new kind of confidence that can't be taken away. Harmony. Harmony is both a wound and a goal for Chiron and Libra. These individuals often crave peace so deeply that they will avoid conflict at any cost. But in doing so, they may create internal disharmony. They might agree to things they don't want, pretend to be okay when they're not, or go along with others to keep the peace. Ironically, this effort to avoid disharmony often creates more of it, internally and externally. Healing for them means understanding that real harmony includes honesty, authenticity, and boundaries. It means being willing to face discomfort in the short term to create peace in the long term. As they practice standing in their truth and letting others do the same, they begin to experience the kind of harmony that lasts. It's no longer a fragile balance, they've created a foundation strong enough to hold both truth and love. Identity. One of the hidden struggles of Chiron and Libra is around identity. Because Libra is all about the other, partners, friendships, relationships, people with this placement sometimes don't know who they are outside of others. They may feel lost when they're not in a relationship or unsure of their path unless someone else is walking it with them. This can make breakups or separations feel like an identity crisis. But within this pain lies the key to healing. When they start exploring their individual desires, talents, and values, they begin to uncover a version of themselves that isn't defined by others. They learn that they are whole, even when alone. And from that wholeness, they can enter relationships not out of need, but out of love. Identity becomes not just something they find, it becomes something they create, from the inside out. Boundaries. Boundaries are essential for people with Chiron and Libra, but often, they don't learn that until after they've been burned. Because they are naturally giving and focused on keeping others happy, they may say yes when they mean no, or tolerate behaviors that make them uncomfortable. This leads to resentment, exhaustion, and confusion about where they end and others begin. Setting boundaries can feel terrifying at first. They may worry they'll be rejected, disliked, or seen as selfish. But healing begins when they realize that boundaries are not walls, they're bridges. They allow true connection to happen. By clearly stating their needs and limits, they invite healthier relationships into their lives. And most importantly, they begin to feel safe within themselves. Boundaries don't push people away, they protect the love that really matters, the love they give to themselves. Reflection. The bonus trait for Chiron and Libra is reflection. People with this placement are mirrors for others. They often attract people who reflect their wounds, desires, and fears back to them. This can be incredibly challenging, but also incredibly healing. Every relationship becomes a classroom. Every conflict is an opportunity for self-discovery. When they begin to see patterns in who they attract, how they respond, and what they feel, they can use that information as a map. A map that leads not to blame, but to understanding. Through reflection, they become wise, compassionate, and deeply self-aware. They stop reacting and start responding. They become conscious creators of their relationships rather than victims of them. And in doing so, they not only heal themselves, they help others do the same, simply by being who they are. Chiron and Libra is a journey through the heart of relationships, not just with others, but with the self. It asks you to look at your wounds, not to wallow in them, but to understand them. It asks you to speak your truth, not to fight, but to create real connection. It teaches that harmony is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of authenticity. If you have this placement, know that you are not broken, you are being called to heal in a way that will change your life and the lives of those around you. You are the wounded healer, the one who transforms pain into purpose, silence into voice, and chaos into balance. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome to Star Zodiacs, your cosmic guide to understanding the stars, planets, and the powerful energy that shapes your life. Today, we're diving deep into a mysterious and transformative placement, Chiron and Scorpio. If you've ever felt emotional wounds you couldn't explain, trust issues that seem to run deep, or a fear of betrayal that lingers in your heart, this might be your Chiron speaking. But what is Chiron, really? In astrology, Chiron is known as the wounded healer. Discovered in 1977, it's a celestial body that orbits between Saturn and Uranus, bridging the gap between the visible and invisible realms. It represents our deepest wounds, the ones that hurt the most, often hiding in plain sight. But here's the powerful part: these wounds also carry our greatest potential for healing. Once we begin to mend them, we often become natural guides, helpers, and healers for others walking similar paths. Chiron's placement in your natal chart shows where you've experienced pain, but also where you can rise, transform, and become whole. For those born with Chiron and Scorpio, this journey is especially intense. Scorpio is a sign of depth, power, intimacy, and transformation. That means Chiron here brings challenges around trust, emotional vulnerability, and the process of death and rebirth, emotionally, spiritually, and even in our identity. Make sure to stay with us until the end of this video because we've included a bonus trait that often gets overlooked but is essential to fully understanding this powerful placement. Let's begin our journey into the shadow and uncover the hidden gift of Chiron in Scorpio. Betrayal. One of the most defining aspects of Chiron in Scorpio is the experience of betrayal. This betrayal may have happened early in life, by a parent, a sibling, a friend, or someone deeply trusted. It doesn't always have to be dramatic. Sometimes, it's subtle. Maybe a loved one wasn't there when you needed them most, or you discovered a secret that shattered your worldview. For those with this placement, betrayal isn't just painful, it leaves a mark. It teaches that intimacy is dangerous, that opening up might lead to hurt. This leads many Chiron and Scorpio individuals to build emotional walls. You might crave closeness, but feel terrified of it at the same time. It becomes a vicious cycle, wanting to trust, but expecting hurt. Healing begins with acknowledging the betrayal. Naming it. Allowing the pain to be real without burying it. This is where Chiron begins to work its magic, by showing that even the most painful betrayals can lead to strength. Over time, betrayal no longer becomes something to avoid, but something to learn from. It becomes a teacher. Trust. Closely linked to betrayal is the issue of trust. With Chiron and Scorpio, trust isn't handed out, it's earned over time, and even then, there might still be suspicion. Scorpio is a water sign, intuitive and emotionally perceptive. You may sense when something is off, even if nothing is said. But sometimes, this radar becomes hypersensitive, interpreting danger where there is none. The Chiron wound in Scorpio creates a fear of being exposed. Trust becomes a terrifying leap. The thought of someone seeing the real you, flaws, fears, secrets, can feel like handing over a loaded weapon. Many people with this placement become secretive or emotionally distant as a way to protect themselves. But trust is a muscle that grows stronger with use. It doesn't mean trusting blindly. It means learning how to tell the difference between your past pain and present reality. Chiron in Scorpio teaches that vulnerability and strength are not opposites. True trust is built when you begin to trust yourself, to know you'll be okay, even if someone lets you down. Intensity. Life is never just okay for those with Chiron in Scorpio. Emotions tend to run deep, like an ocean filled with strong currents. Happiness feels ecstatic, while sadness can feel all-consuming. Anger, fear, love, jealousy, all these emotions can surge like a tidal wave, pulling you under before you realize what's happening. Chiron here doesn't allow for surface-level living. People with this placement often seek meaning in everything. You might not be interested in small talk, you crave realness. And yet, this intensity can be exhausting, especially when you don't know how to manage it. It can also intimidate others, leading you to feel misunderstood or even rejected. Healing happens when you learn to ride the emotional waves instead of getting lost in them. Meditation, therapy, journaling, or any form of deep self-reflection helps. Intensity isn't a flaw, it's a gift when handled wisely. It gives you insight into life's deeper layers and helps others feel seen in ways they've never felt before. Control. Control becomes a coping mechanism for many with Chiron in Scorpio. When your emotions feel unpredictable or when you've been betrayed before, controlling your environment, or even other people, might seem like the only way to feel safe. This need for control isn't always obvious. It can look like perfectionism, micromanaging, or refusing to rely on anyone. It might show up in relationships where you need to test people before trusting them. Or you might shut down emotionally rather than risk someone hurting you. But control often brings the opposite of what you want. It creates distance. It pushes people away. Chiron in Scorpio teaches that real power doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender. When you begin to let go, when you trust the flow of life, even just a little, you begin to heal. It's not about being reckless, it's about choosing faith over fear. Transformation. One of the greatest gifts of this placement is the power of transformation. Chiron in Scorpio isn't about avoiding pain, it's about using it as fuel for evolution. You may go through many deaths in your lifetime, emotional, relational, spiritual. But every ending prepares you for a new beginning. Think of a phoenix rising from the ashes. That's the symbolic image of Scorpio's power. You might hit rock bottom, but from that place, you rebuild yourself stronger than ever. You don't just recover, you reinvent. People with this Chiron placement often emerge from hardship with incredible wisdom. They understand grief, trauma, and change in a way that others do not. This makes you a powerful guide for others who are struggling. By transforming your own wounds, you help others do the same. That is the essence of the wounded healer. Shadow. Scorpio is the sign of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide from the world. With Chiron here, the wound often hides in shame. You might carry secrets, regrets, or memories you wish you could erase. Maybe you feel that certain emotions, like anger, jealousy, or desire, make you bad. But here's the truth: we all have a shadow. The more we deny it, the more power it has over us. Chiron in Scorpio challenges you to face your darkness, not to destroy it, but to understand it. When you embrace your shadow, you become whole. You stop running from yourself. You begin to heal. And in doing so, you create a safe space for others to be real too. You don't fear the ugly parts of life, you've walked through them. And that gives you depth, compassion, and strength. Vulnerability. Vulnerability is one of the scariest things for someone with Chiron in Scorpio. Letting someone see the real you, the parts that hurt, the parts that cry, the parts that hope, can feel like standing in a storm without shelter. And yet, vulnerability is the medicine. It's not weakness, it's courage. When you let someone in, even just a little, you challenge the wound that says you're not safe. You begin to rewrite the script. Being vulnerable doesn't mean you tell everyone everything. It means you allow yourself to feel. To cry. To love. To risk. Chiron in Scorpio teaches that vulnerability leads to intimacy, and intimacy is where true healing begins. Resilience. With great emotional depth comes incredible resilience. Chiron and Scorpio individuals often experience life's darker edges, but they don't stay down. You may have faced heartbreak, loss, or even trauma and still found a way to keep moving. Even when life knocks you down, you rise again. This resilience isn't just about survival, it's about growth. Each time you fall and get back up, you become stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. The pain doesn't define you, but it shapes you. It builds an inner strength that no one can take away. Chiron in Scorpio gives you the power to endure and evolve. It teaches that healing is not linear, and that strength doesn't mean never breaking, it means rebuilding yourself every time you do. Your scars become symbols of your strength, not your weakness. Empowerment. One of the most powerful lessons of Chiron in Scorpio is learning how to reclaim your personal power. Because this placement often begins life feeling disempowered, through betrayal, secrets, or emotional wounds, the journey towards self-empowerment is hard-earned but deeply transformative. True empowerment comes when you stop giving others control over your worth, emotions, or future. It means owning your story, even the painful parts. When you accept your past without letting it define you, you take your power back. This inner strength radiates outward. You become a force that can't be ignored. Others feel your presence, your wisdom, your depth. Empowerment is not about dominating others, it's about being so deeply connected to your truth that nothing can shake you. That's the Chiron and Scorpio legacy. Wisdom. With time and healing, Chiron in Scorpio becomes a wellspring of wisdom. This placement often creates people who are natural counselors, therapists, or spiritual guides, not because they read it in a book, but because they lived it. You understand pain. You understand healing. And you know that the journey between the two is rarely easy. But your lived experience becomes your greatest teaching tool. People are drawn to you, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. You've been through it, and that makes others feel safe. Chiron in Scorpio teaches that our deepest wounds often become our greatest gifts. The pain you faced was never meaningless, it was preparing you to help others find their light in the dark. You are the healer who was once wounded, and that's what makes your wisdom so profound. Depth. This bonus trait often gets overlooked, but it's absolutely essential to understanding Chiron in Scorpio. Depth. People with this placement are not satisfied with superficial answers or shallow experiences. You crave meaning, purpose, and emotional truth. This depth can be isolating when others don't understand it. You may feel like an outsider, wondering why people seem content with surface-level conversations or distractions. But your depth is your superpower. It allows you to connect with others in ways that are rare and unforgettable. Whether through art, relationships, healing work, or personal reflection, your need to go deep gives life more meaning. You're not here to skim the surface, you're here to dive into the soul of things. And because you've gone to those deep places within yourself, you can meet others there too. Chiron in Scorpio is one of the most intense, challenging, and powerful placements in astrology. It brings a wound that cuts deep, but it also brings the possibility of profound transformation. If this is your Chiron sign, you are not broken, you are becoming. Each betrayal, each moment of vulnerability, each painful shadow you faced was preparing you to rise. You are not here to avoid pain, you are here to turn pain into power. Through healing, you become the healer. Through darkness, you find your own light and shine it for others to follow. So remember, if you have Chiron in Scorpio, your path won't be easy, but it will be meaningful. And the deeper you go into yourself, the more whole you become. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome to Star Zodiacs, the channel where the stars align to tell your story. Today, we're diving into something deeply personal, yet powerfully transformational, your Chiron sign. Specifically, Chiron in Sagittarius. But what exactly is Chiron? And why should you care? Chiron, known as the wounded healer, is a special point in your natal chart that reveals your greatest emotional wound, but also your greatest power. While this placement shows where you've been hurt, it also shows how you can grow strong and even help others heal in the same area. Think of it like this: your pain becomes your superpower. Now, if your Chiron is in Sagittarius, your wound is connected to truth, belief, and meaning. Maybe you've struggled to trust your own ideas or felt lost in life's big questions. The healing journey? Learning to believe in yourself again, and then guiding others toward their own wisdom. Stay with us until the end, because we'll be revealing a powerful bonus trait that often goes unnoticed in people with Chiron in Sagittarius. It could be the key that unlocks your full potential. Let's begin this journey of self-discovery together. Disillusionment. People with Chiron in Sagittarius often feel like the world has lied to them. Maybe as a child, you were told to believe in something that didn't make sense, like a religion, school rule, or even a family tradition. You might have noticed early on that adults said one thing but did another. Or maybe you were taught that life had clear answers, only to find out later that the answers didn't work for you. This creates a deep crack inside your heart, a crack that whispers, "Is anything really true?" Over time, this feeling turns into disillusionment. You might stop trusting teachers, leaders, or even yourself. It can make you want to give up searching for meaning altogether. But underneath that disappointment, there's something beautiful, a spark. This spark is the beginning of your true wisdom. Disillusionment, while painful, clears away the fake so that you can find what's real. You were never meant to blindly believe what others say. You were meant to dig deeper, question everything, and find truth that feels right in your bones. Lostness. Having Chiron and Sagittarius can feel like living in a maze with no map. You might look around and see others following clear paths, becoming doctors, teachers, or athletes, while you wander, asking big questions like, what's the point of all this? You may feel like you're the only one who doesn't know what they're doing. That lost feeling can show up in school, jobs, or even relationships. It's not just confusion, it's a deep soul ache for something meaningful. But being lost isn't always bad. Sometimes, it's the only way to discover something new. When you don't have a map, you're free to create your own path. You're forced to listen to your inner compass, that quiet voice inside that says, try this, or go there. This inner voice becomes your guide, stronger than any outside advice. Eventually, you realize you're not lost at all, you're exploring. And what you find during your exploration becomes the treasure you later share with others. Doubt. Chiron in Sagittarius brings a constant battle with doubt. Even when you start to believe in something, like a dream, a faith, or a philosophy, that sneaky voice shows up and says, "Are you sure about this?" It can feel like walking on shaky ground. You may hesitate to speak your mind, afraid others will laugh or question you. You might start something big, like a creative project or a spiritual journey, only to stop halfway through, unsure if it matters. This doubt can feel like a curse. But it's actually part of your training. It teaches you to examine ideas deeply and to ask the questions most people ignore. Your doubt shapes your mind into a sharp tool, able to cut through lies and confusion. And when you finally do land on something that feels right, your belief becomes unshakable, not because someone told you, but because you earned it. That's why when you speak from the heart, people listen. Your words carry the weight of someone who has searched the stars and returned with the truth. Wanderlust. One powerful trait of Chiron and Sagittarius is a deep desire to explore. You may crave adventures, not just vacations, but meaningful journeys. Maybe you dream of living in another country, learning ancient wisdom, or walking sacred paths. But here's the tricky part: even when you travel, you may feel like something is missing. You might visit beautiful places and meet interesting people, but still carry a strange emptiness inside. That's because your wanderlust isn't just about moving from place to place. It's a spiritual hunger, a search for meaning, connection, and truth. Each trip teaches you something, adds a piece to your soul's puzzle. And eventually, you discover that the journey that matters most is the one within. That's where your deepest healing begins. You'll still love to explore the world, but now you'll do it with purpose. And your stories, your discoveries, your wisdom will become maps for others who are searching too. Rejection. At some point in life, many people with Chiron and Sagittarius are rejected for their beliefs. Maybe you asked big questions as a child, only to be told you were too much or too difficult. Maybe you shared a new idea and someone close to you laughed or ignored it. Or maybe you belonged to a group, a school, a church, a community that pushed you out for thinking differently. That kind of rejection cuts deep, and it often makes you hide your true thoughts. You might start pretending to believe what others do just to fit in. Or you might stop talking about your ideas altogether, afraid of being judged. But that silence doesn't erase your truth. It just buries it. Healing begins when you realize that being rejected doesn't make you wrong. It makes you strong. When you finally feel safe enough to speak your truth, you unlock a power inside you, the power to welcome others with open arms, no matter what they believe. You become a safe space, because you know what it feels like to be shut out. Wisdom. As you grow and heal, your mind becomes a library of lessons. Chiron and Sagittarius gives you a deep hunger for knowledge, not just facts, but wisdom. You want to understand how the universe works, why people suffer, what it all means. You might read books, watch documentaries, talk to wise people, or even study different religions and philosophies. Every lesson becomes a light that helps you find your way. But this wisdom doesn't come easily. It's earned through pain, trial, and error. You've had to figure things out the hard way. And that's what makes your wisdom so real. It's not memorized, it's lived. Eventually, others notice your insight. They come to you for advice, even if they don't know why. And you help them not by telling them what to believe, but by asking the right questions. You light the path and let them walk it. That's the true mark of a wise soul, someone who doesn't give answers, but helps others find their own. Teaching. One of the most powerful gifts that comes with this Chiron placement is the ability to teach. But you don't teach like a school teacher with a chalkboard. You teach through stories, experiences, jokes, and deep conversations. You might not even realize how much you teach, just by being honest, curious, and thoughtful. People listen to you because they sense that your ideas are grounded in truth. At first, you may be afraid to teach. You might think, who am I to share this? But as you heal, that fear fades. You realize that your journey, your pain, and your healing all happened for a reason. You were meant to share your lessons with the world. Whether you become a formal teacher, a writer, a speaker, or just someone who gives great advice, your words matter. They stick with people. They plant seeds of hope and understanding. Teaching, for you, is not about being the smartest. It's about being real. Humor. One of the secret superpowers of Chiron and Sagittarius is humor. Even when you're going through something painful, you often find a way to laugh, and to make others laugh too. This isn't fake laughter to hide sadness. It's laughter that heals. It's the kind of humor that comes from seeing the bigger picture. You understand how silly and strange life can be, and you help others see it too. Your jokes are often full of wisdom. You might make people laugh, and then suddenly, they realize they learned something important. This type of humor makes you feel safe, lighthearted, and connected. It helps others let down their walls. And it reminds people that no matter how serious things get, there's always a little bit of light. Humor is your gift. It's how you deal with life, share your truth, and connect with others on a heart level. Mentorship. As you grow stronger, people naturally begin to look to you as a mentor. They see something in you, a calm wisdom, a steady light, and they feel safe around you. Even if you don't feel like an expert, your life experience becomes a powerful guide for others. You may find yourself giving advice, answering big questions, or helping people through confusion. You might not plan to be a mentor, but you become one just by being who you are. Mentorship isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest. Because you've walked through doubt, rejection, and uncertainty, you know how to meet people where they are. You don't tell them what to believe, you help them discover their own truth. You don't give rules, you give questions. That's why your mentorship is so valuable. It's based on understanding, not control. And through this, you become a living example of what healing looks like. You show others that the journey is worth it. Freedom. The deepest gift of Chiron and Sagittarius is the journey to freedom. Not just physical freedom, like the ability to travel or make your own choices, but inner freedom. Mental freedom. Emotional freedom. Spiritual freedom. You were never meant to live by someone else's rules. You're here to create your own beliefs, walk your own path, and trust your own truth. At first, this might feel scary. There's comfort in following the crowd. But that comfort never lasts. Deep down, you know you need to break free. And when you do, when you finally let go of old beliefs, doubts, or fears, something incredible happens. You start to feel alive. Your life begins to glow with purpose and direction. That's when you know you've healed. And the best part? Your freedom inspires others to free themselves too. You become a walking permission slip for authenticity. Vision. Hidden inside you is a powerful vision, a dream, a goal, a belief that life can be beautiful and full of meaning. Even when things feel dark or confusing, that vision never dies. It keeps glowing deep in your heart, like a lantern in the fog. You may not always talk about it, but it's there, guiding your steps and fueling your passion. This vision may be about helping others, creating art, traveling the world, or making a difference in your community. Whatever it is, it connects you to something bigger than yourself. And when you finally embrace it, when you dare to speak it out loud and take action, the universe opens up for you. This vision is not just for you. It's for the people you're meant to touch, the lives you're meant to inspire, and the truth you're meant to share. This is your gift. Don't hide it. Chiron in Sagittarius is no easy path. It brings doubt, disillusionment, and the painful feeling of being lost in a world of confusing beliefs. But within that pain lies a gift, the ability to find your truth and help others find theirs. You are the philosopher, the teacher, the wanderer, and the guide. Every step of your journey has taught you something that can help someone else. And when you finally embrace that power, you become the wounded healer, the one who turns scars into strength. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome to Star Zodiacs, the place where the stars speak and we listen. Today, we're diving into a placement that's often misunderstood yet powerfully transformative, Chiron in Capricorn. Chiron, known as the wounded healer, marks the spot in your birth chart where emotional pain runs deep, but where healing is not only possible, it's destined. Think of Chiron as both the scar and the wisdom gained from it. It reveals where you feel broken but also where your strength, compassion, and resilience can shine the brightest. If your Chiron is in Capricorn, you've likely felt a lifelong pressure to succeed, be responsible, and prove your worth through achievement. Maybe you've struggled with feelings of inadequacy, especially around authority, career, or how you define success. But here's the twist, your wound is also your gift. And as we unravel this journey, we'll explore how Chiron in Capricorn can transform pain into purpose, and pressure into profound inner power. We've broken this down into 10 core emotional traits that describe the path of Chiron in Capricorn. These aren't just psychological observations, they're stepping stones to understanding your true self. And don't skip out early, stay with us until the end, because we've included a powerful bonus trait that ties everything together and offers a final, unexpected key to this astrological puzzle. Let's begin the journey. Pressure. People with Chiron and Capricorn often feel like they're born with a job to do. From a young age, they may have felt like it was up to them to be the responsible one. Maybe their family depended on them. Maybe they were told, "You're mature for your age," or praised only when they accomplished something big. This created a belief that being good meant being useful, successful, or ahead of everyone else. Over time, this pressure grows. It's like wearing a backpack full of bricks, but the bricks are invisible, so no one else sees the weight you're carrying. This pressure is different from just trying to do your best. It's a deep, nagging fear that if you stop pushing yourself, you'll be left behind, or worse, seen as a failure. Many with this placement won't even let themselves rest without guilt. Even vacations or breaks can feel uncomfortable. It's as if their value disappears the moment they stop working or achieving. But underneath all that is a simple, beautiful truth waiting to be discovered: you are already enough, without doing anything more. Healing begins when you realize your value doesn't need to be earned, it already exists within you. Pressure. People with Chiron and Capricorn often feel like they're born with a job to do. From a young age, they may have felt like it was up to them to be the responsible one. Maybe their family depended on them. Maybe they were told, "You're mature for your age," or praised only when they accomplished something big. This created a belief that being good meant being useful, successful, or ahead of everyone else. Over time, this pressure grows. It's like wearing a backpack full of bricks, but the bricks are invisible, so no one else sees the weight you're carrying. This pressure is different from just trying to do your best. It's a deep, nagging fear that if you stop pushing yourself, you'll be left behind, or worse, seen as a failure. Many with this placement won't even let themselves rest without guilt. Even vacations or breaks can feel uncomfortable. It's as if their value disappears the moment they stop working or achieving. But underneath all that is a simple, beautiful truth waiting to be discovered: you are already enough, without doing anything more. Healing begins when you realize your value doesn't need to be earned, it already exists within you. Authority. For people with Chiron and Capricorn, authority isn't just about rules, it's about pain. They may have grown up in homes where parents or guardians were strict, emotionally distant, or even controlling. Maybe it felt like no matter what they did, it was never good enough. Or perhaps authority was inconsistent, sometimes kind, sometimes harsh, making them feel unsafe or unsure. Over time, they learned to fear authority or tried to become it themselves so they wouldn't have to feel helpless again. Later in life, this wound can show up in surprising ways. Maybe they always need to be in charge at work. Maybe they freeze up around bosses or teachers. Or maybe they become the boss, but doubt themselves constantly. They may struggle to believe their own decisions matter. Healing means learning to become your own source of guidance. It's about realizing that authority doesn't have to be harsh. It can be wise, gentle, and earned. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You don't need a title to lead. You simply need to trust your inner voice, and it will guide you better than anyone else ever could. Achievement. Chiron in Capricorn turns achievement into a battlefield. You might look at your resume, your trophies, or your grades and still feel empty inside. Or, you might avoid trying at all because the idea of failing feels unbearable. In both cases, the root is the same: your self-worth has been tangled up with achievement. You believe that unless you make it, you don't matter. This can lead to burnout, anxiety, or even depression, especially when goals aren't met. But here's the secret: success is not a finish line. It's not about money, status, or how many people clap for you. True achievement is waking up and liking the person in the mirror. It's doing work that fills your soul, even if no one else sees it. It's standing by your values, even when it's hard. Healing this wound involves rewriting what success means to you. It means letting go of comparison and choosing fulfillment. When you stop racing for approval and start walking in purpose, you become someone whose life feels like a quiet but steady victory every single day. Insecurity. Even the most successful people with Chiron and Capricorn often carry a secret: they don't feel good enough. On the outside, they may look confident and capable. But inside, there's a voice that whispers, "You're a fraud. You don't belong here." One mistake and they'll see the real you. This insecurity is sneaky. It hides under hard work, over-preparation, and a constant need to prove oneself. It turns accomplishments into anxiety and compliments into pressure. This wound may have started in childhood, especially if love and attention were tied to performance. Over time, the person begins to believe that they have to be perfect to be accepted. But healing comes from facing that voice of doubt and saying, "I hear you, but you're not in charge anymore." It's about learning to separate your achievements from your identity. You're not your job. You're not your grades. You're not your failures. You're you, and that's more than enough. When you start treating yourself with kindness instead of criticism, that insecure voice gets quieter, and your true confidence begins to shine. Loneliness. Chiron in Capricorn often creates the kind of loneliness that doesn't go away just by being around people. It's a deep, emotional loneliness that comes from feeling like no one really sees you or understands the weight you carry. You're the dependable one. The rock. The person everyone leans on. But when you're the strong one all the time, who supports you? Many with this placement learned early to hide their emotions, believing that being vulnerable made them weak or a burden. So they keep everything inside. They smile, work hard, and say, "I'm fine," even when they're hurting. But healing requires a new approach. It means admitting, even just to yourself, "I'm not okay right now," and that's okay. It means letting others in. Finding friends, mentors, or partners who don't need you to be perfect, just real. When you give yourself permission to need help, you discover something beautiful, true connection. And in that connection, the loneliness starts to fade. Control. For Chiron and Capricorn, control is a safety net. When life feels uncertain, they hold tighter. They plan everything, double-check their schedules, and micromanage the smallest details. This desire for control isn't about being picky, it's about trying to feel safe. Somewhere along the way, life taught them that chaos is dangerous, and the only way to avoid pain is to keep everything under strict control. But here's the thing, life can't be fully controlled. People change. Plans fall apart. And trying to grip everything only leads to stress, exhaustion, and disappointment. Healing involves loosening that grip. It's scary, yes, but also freeing. When you start trusting that you can handle the unexpected, even if it's messy, you begin to feel stronger inside. You learn that you don't need to control everything around you to feel in control of yourself. And in that surrender, you discover peace. You start flowing with life instead of fighting it, and that changes everything. Reputation. People with Chiron and Capricorn often place enormous value on how others see them. Reputation isn't just important, it feels like life or death. They want to be admired, respected, and seen as capable. They might work long hours, stay in unhappy relationships, or push themselves beyond their limits just to protect that image. But the danger of living for reputation is that you start to lose your real self in the process. You become a character in a play rather than the author of your story. You smile when you're sad. You say yes when you want to scream no. You present perfection while hiding your pain. But healing invites you to live with honesty, not performance. It tells you, your worth isn't in your image, it's in your truth. When you let go of who you think you're supposed to be, you uncover who you really are. And surprisingly, people often love that version of you even more, because it's real. Reputation fades. But authenticity? That's what leaves a mark. Boundaries. Chiron and Capricorn people often feel responsible for everyone else's well-being. They take on more than they should, at work, at home, even in friendships. Saying no feels like failure. They may feel guilty for resting, setting limits, or asking for space. But every time they ignore their own needs, they get closer to burnout. Their body might feel tired. Their heart might feel heavy. But they push through until they can't anymore. This pattern comes from a belief that worth is tied to usefulness. But here's the truth, you don't have to earn your place in the world. You deserve rest. You deserve peace. And you deserve to say no without explanation. Healing means learning to set boundaries, not just to protect yourself, but to honor yourself. Boundaries are not barriers, they're bridges to balance. They teach the world how to treat you. And when you start treating yourself like someone who matters, others begin to do the same. Legacy. With Chiron and Capricorn, there's often a deep need to leave something behind. You may dream of building a business, writing a book, or creating a name for yourself that will last long after you're gone. This desire is beautiful, but it can also come from fear. A fear that if you don't accomplish something big, your life won't mean anything. That you'll be forgotten. That your story will vanish. But legacy isn't just about grand gestures. It's about how you make people feel. It's in the child you raise with kindness, the friend you support with loyalty, the stranger you help without expecting anything in return. Healing comes when you realize your presence is your power. Your legacy doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be real. And every time you choose love, truth, and courage, you're already shaping the world in ways you may never fully see. That's what lasting impact really looks like. Resilience. Resilience is the bonus trait of Chiron and Capricorn, and it might be the most important of all. This placement shapes people who don't give up, who fall, get up, and keep going, who carry wounds but turn them into wisdom. You faced challenges most people never see. You've endured pressure, expectations, and silence, and still, you rise. Over and over again. Resilience means bending without breaking. It means choosing to believe in yourself even when the world doesn't. It means looking at your pain and saying, I will not be defined by this, I will be shaped by it. This quiet, unstoppable strength is your secret power. It doesn't always look impressive on the outside, but it's what turns ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. And the best part? Resilience isn't something you find. It's something you've been building all along. Chiron in Capricorn is a path of deep transformation. It starts with pain, feeling unworthy, unrecognized, or under constant pressure to perform. But it doesn't end there. It leads to a place of profound self-respect, quiet confidence, and inner authority. You're not here to chase perfection. You're here to live with purpose. You're not broken, you're becoming whole. And through your journey, you become a guide for others walking a similar path. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome to Star Zodiacs, where the stars help us understand ourselves a little more each day. Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing placements in astrology, Chiron in Aquarius. If you've ever felt like the odd one out, or wondered why you struggle to find your tribe, you'll want to stay with us. In astrology, Chiron is known as the wounded healer, a celestial body that represents the deepest wound in our hearts, but also the greatest potential for healing and transformation. Chiron's placement in your natal chart shows where life hurts the most, and paradoxically, where you can become the most powerful healer, for both yourself and others. In Aquarius, the wound often centers on feeling different, disconnected, or alienated from groups, society, or even your own identity. But here's the twist, your greatest strength is hidden in that difference. Healing comes when you embrace your uniqueness and use it to connect meaningfully with others. Stick around until the end of the video, because we're saving the most surprising and empowering trait for last, the bonus insight that ties everything together and might just change the way you see your place in the world. Let's begin. Alienation. From an early age, those with Chiron and Aquarius may carry a deep, invisible wound, a sense that they don't fit in. Whether it's school, family, or community, there's often a quiet awareness of being different. This feeling doesn't always show on the surface, but it cuts deep. You may have tried to adapt or hide parts of yourself just to be accepted. Maybe you wore the clothes everyone else wore, laughed at jokes you didn't find funny, or stayed silent when your ideas were too weird for others. This sense of alienation can become internalized over time. You might start believing that something is wrong with you because the world seems to run on a rhythm you don't hear. It becomes a wound that bleeds into friendships, school experiences, or even adult group dynamics like workplaces or social causes. Healing this trait means first acknowledging that your sense of being outside the system is real, but it doesn't mean you're broken. In fact, it's the seed of your greatest potential. Individuality. Chiron in Aquarius challenges you to discover who you truly are, not who others expect you to be. As a child, you may have been called quirky, unusual, or even rebellious. That's because Aquarius energy is inventive and forward-thinking. But with Chiron here, this originality may have been punished or misunderstood. Instead of celebrating your different way of thinking, others might have criticized it. That hurts, especially when it happens during your most formative years. But here's where the magic happens. Individuality, once embraced, becomes your healing gift. You weren't meant to blend in, you were born to stand out. That feeling of being other is actually your inner compass pointing toward a unique path that only you can walk. When you begin to love the parts of you that don't match the crowd, you start radiating authenticity. That authenticity becomes magnetic. Suddenly, you don't have to chase belonging. It finds you. Rejection. One of the hardest parts of Chiron in Aquarius is the experience of social rejection. You may have been excluded from cliques, mocked for your ideas, or ghosted when your thoughts got too deep or different. This creates a fear of expressing yourself fully, because part of you believes that being authentic will lead to being cast out. Over time, you might even start rejecting yourself, hiding the parts that seem too much or too strange. Rejection becomes a recurring theme. It might show up in friendships, group activities, or even online spaces. But what hurts most is not the rejection itself, it's the way it convinces you that you don't deserve connection. Healing begins when you realize that those who reject you simply aren't meant to walk your path. You are not too much, you are just ahead of your time. Your ideas, energy, and presence are designed for a different kind of tribe, one that truly sees you. Finding that tribe changes everything. Innovation. Chiron in Aquarius comes with a hidden superpower, innovation. While your wound may stem from not fitting in, your gift is the ability to think far outside the box. You see what others don't. Your mind leaps ahead to the future, to solutions that haven't even been imagined yet. And yes, this can feel isolating, especially when you're surrounded by people who don't understand your vision. But this ability is sacred. Innovation isn't just about technology or ideas. It's also about new ways of relating to people, new ways of solving problems, and new ways of building community. You might feel drawn to movements that involve change, progress, or human rights. You may even feel called to shake up the status quo. When you begin to see your differences as innovative gifts, you stop feeling ashamed of them. Instead, you begin building the future with them. That's the real healing. Detachment. With this placement, there can be an emotional detachment that develops over time, not because you don't feel deeply, but because you've been hurt by connection. When groups or people don't understand you, it becomes safer to pull away. You may develop a persona that looks cool, aloof, or independent, even when your heart longs for deep connection. This detachment becomes a form of protection. You love humanity, but struggle with individual humans. Healing this trait means learning to risk vulnerability again. It means gently softening the walls you've built. Not all people will hurt you. Some are looking for exactly the kind of connection you can offer, genuine, honest, and heart-centered. The key is to allow emotional intimacy without losing your sense of freedom. It's possible to be connected and unique at the same time. When you discover this balance, your relationships become safe havens instead of battlegrounds. Rebellion. Aquarius is the sign of the rebel, and with Chiron here, you may have learned to use rebellion as a survival strategy. When you feel misunderstood or boxed in, you push back, sometimes hard. This trait can be empowering, giving you the courage to speak out or stand apart. But if it stems from unhealed wounds, it can also be self-sabotaging. You may burn bridges that didn't need burning, or resist guidance even when it's helpful. Rebellion doesn't have to be destructive. When healed, it transforms into leadership. You begin to use your rebel fire to fight for justice, create new systems, or liberate others who feel trapped. You become the voice that says, "We can do better." You no longer rebel just to survive, you rebel to transform. That's the power of Chiron in Aquarius when it's healed, conscious revolution. Vision. One of your greatest strengths is vision. Even if you've doubted yourself, you've always had a strong sense of what could be. You see the big picture, the long-term impact, and the ripple effects that others miss. This visionary trait is often dismissed when you're young. People say you're too idealistic, too unrealistic, or too dreamy. But don't let that discourage you. Visionaries often walk alone before others catch up. When you begin to believe in your vision and speak it with clarity, others start listening. You become a beacon of possibility. Your ideas inspire innovation, change, and growth. You're not here to maintain the old way, you're here to see the future and help build it. Healing comes when you trust your own vision enough to share it, even when it feels risky. Because the world needs your perspective more than you realize. Community. Chiron in Aquarius brings a wound related to community. You may deeply desire connection, but struggle to feel truly part of something. This can lead to feelings of loneliness, even when you're surrounded by people. Sometimes, you give too much to the group in hopes of being accepted. Other times, you withdraw entirely to avoid being hurt again. Either way, the longing remains. Healing happens when you start forming communities that honor your values and individuality. Whether it's through activism, art, spirituality, or online platforms, you can attract like-minded souls. The key is to stop seeking permission to belong and start building spaces where authenticity is the price of admission. When you create that kind of community, you not only heal your own wound, you become a healer for others who felt the same isolation. Idealism. You believe in a better world. Deep inside, you carry a blueprint for peace, equality, and truth. But life has likely shown you that people don't always live up to those ideals. This disillusionment can feel like betrayal. When your vision of how things should be crashes into the way things are, it can be heartbreaking. Some people with this placement swing between hopeful idealism and cold cynicism. But your idealism isn't a flaw, it's your fuel. Healing means learning to hold your ideals while still navigating reality. It means using your heartbreak to motivate change, not to shut down. When you act from your ideals, even in small ways, you inspire others. You become proof that vision and practicality can live together. That's how real transformation begins, with one person who refuses to give up on what's possible. Equality. Chiron in Aquarius is deeply connected to justice and equality. You may have seen or experienced unfairness early in life, being left out, judged, or dismissed for being different. This creates a powerful sensitivity to injustice in all its forms. You might find yourself speaking up when no one else will, or advocating for those without a voice. But sometimes, this sense of mission can become a burden. Healing this trait means balancing your desire to serve humanity with the need to care for yourself. You don't have to carry the weight of the world alone. True equality includes you. When you begin to treat yourself with the same compassion and fairness you offer others, your message becomes even more powerful. You stop rescuing and start empowering. You stop fighting and start creating. That's when the world really starts to change. Genius. Here's the bonus trait, the one that often goes unnoticed. Chiron in Aquarius carries the potential for genius. Not necessarily in a textbook or test score way, but in the ability to see patterns, invent solutions, and spark change. Because of your wound, you were forced to observe the world differently. And in that difference, a brilliant mind was born. Your genius lies in your ability to question what others accept. To find beauty in the unconventional. To solve problems in ways no one else would think of. When you stop trying to normalize yourself and start nurturing your originality, this genius begins to shine. And the more you own it, the more you become a guide, teacher, or innovator. Others start to turn to you, not just because you're smart, but because you're real. Chiron in Aquarius is not an easy placement. It carries a lifetime of questions about belonging, identity, and connection. But it also carries the promise of deep healing and profound transformation. Your journey is not just about healing your own wounds, it's about lighting the way for others who feel lost in their own uniqueness. You are here to remind the world that different isn't broken, it's brilliant. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Welcome to Star Zodiacs, where the stars speak and your soul listens. Today's journey is one of mystery, magic, and profound emotional healing. We're diving deep into one of the most mystical and sensitive placements in astrology, Chiron in Pisces. If you've ever felt lost in other people's emotions, battled with blurry boundaries, or longed for spiritual clarity in a chaotic world, then this video is for you. But what exactly is Chiron? In astrology, Chiron is called the wounded healer. Discovered in 1977, this small celestial body moves between the orbits of Saturn and Uranus and holds a powerful message in every birth chart. Chiron represents our deepest soul wound, the part of us that aches quietly, often hidden from the world. But here's the beautiful part: it also shows us where we can grow, heal, and eventually become a guiding light for others. When Chiron is in Pisces, the wounds are often tied to faith, sensitivity, escapism, and emotional boundaries. This placement can bring great pain, but also great wisdom. Your pain becomes your path. And by healing yourself, you learn how to help others find their own way. So stay with us until the end. Because not only will we explore 10 powerful traits of Chiron in Pisces, but we'll also share a special bonus insight that can completely shift how you view this placement. Don't miss it, it might just be the missing puzzle piece in your healing journey. Let's begin. Sensitivity. If you have Chiron in Pisces, your sensitivity is off the charts. You feel things that others don't. The emotions in a room can affect you more deeply than the people they belong to. It's like having an invisible antenna that picks up signals from everyone's heart. This can be a gift, but also a burden. When you were younger, you might have cried for reasons you couldn't explain. You might have sensed tension in your home even if no one said a word. This deep emotional radar can make life overwhelming, especially when you're around people who are in pain or angry. You may have grown up feeling like something was wrong with you. People told you to toughen up or stop being so dramatic. But your sensitivity isn't a flaw, it's your superpower. The wound comes from not knowing how to handle it or protect yourself from it. As you grow older, learning to manage your sensitivity becomes a central part of your healing. It's about understanding that your heart is wide open and learning how to shield it when necessary. You don't need to feel everything to be empathetic. You just need to recognize what's yours and what's not. Absorption. People with Chiron in Pisces often absorb the emotions of others like a sponge. You may feel drained after spending time in crowded places, or you might carry someone else's sadness long after a conversation has ended. This can lead to emotional confusion. Are you sad because of your own life, or because someone else is struggling? Do you feel angry because of something that happened to you, or because you picked up on someone else's unspoken frustration? This absorption can blur your inner world. You may not even know where your feelings end and someone else's begin. This can lead to burnout, fatigue, and emotional shutdown. You might retreat into your own world, trying to escape the overwhelming noise of everyone else's pain. The healing journey here is learning to filter. Imagine your heart has a screen, like a colander. You can let in what's helpful and let the rest pass through. Grounding practices like nature walks, meditation, and journaling can help. When you know how to protect your emotional energy, your gift of empathy becomes a healing tool, not a heavy load. Escapism. When life gets too painful, people with Chiron and Pisces often try to escape. Sometimes it's through daydreaming, sleep, or disappearing into books or fantasy. Other times, it can take darker forms, like addiction, avoidance, or emotional detachment. You may have learned early on that the real world was just too much. So you built another one inside your head. Maybe you imagined being someone else, living somewhere else, or being rescued by someone who would understand you completely. This tendency to escape isn't weakness. It's a coping mechanism. It's how you survived when things felt too big to handle. But over time, it can become a trap. You may avoid your own healing by numbing out, tuning out, or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Real healing comes when you stop running. When you sit with the pain, even if it trembles inside you like a wave. And over time, you'll discover that you don't need to escape to survive. You can build a life that feels safe, grounded, and real, right here, in the present. Faith. One of the deepest wounds for Chiron and Pisces is the wound to faith. Maybe you once believed in something greater than yourself, a divine force, a dream, or a hope. And then something happened. Something that made you question everything. Maybe you felt betrayed by life, by a higher power, or by the people you trusted. Maybe you asked for help and felt like no one answered. Maybe the world just seemed unfair, and you couldn't understand why. This loss of faith can feel like falling into a dark ocean without knowing how to swim. You might search for answers in religion, spirituality, or philosophy, only to feel more lost. You want to believe, but you're scared to. The path forward is learning to rebuild that faith. Not by accepting someone else's truth, but by listening to your own inner voice. Faith isn't about certainty. It's about trust. Trusting that your life has meaning, that healing is possible, and that you are never truly alone. Boundaries. Boundaries are one of the hardest lessons for Chiron and Pisces. You may feel guilty for saying no. You may let people take too much from you, thinking that helping others is more important than protecting yourself. You might have been taught that love means sacrifice. That good people give everything, even when it hurts. And because of this, you may have ended up in one-sided relationships where your needs were ignored or dismissed. But boundaries are not walls. They are bridges. They teach others how to treat you, and teach you how to honor yourself. Learning to say, "That's not okay," or "I need time for myself," is a major part of your healing. At first, it may feel selfish. But over time, you'll see that healthy boundaries don't push people away, they attract the right people in. Compassion. Your pain has made you deeply compassionate. You understand what it means to suffer, to feel unseen, to long for kindness. And because of this, you offer others a safe space. You, the one people cry to. The one who listens without judging. This compassion is beautiful. But it can also hurt. Sometimes, you give so much that you forget to give to yourself. You may take on everyone else's burdens and feel like it's your job to fix their lives. True compassion starts with you. You deserve the same kindness you give to others. You deserve to rest, to receive, and to be supported. Healing means learning that you don't have to carry the whole world. You just need to carry yourself, with love. Intuition. With Chiron and Pisces, your intuition is incredibly strong. You may sense things before they happen. You may know when someone is lying, even if they don't say a word. You pick up on energy shifts, mood changes, and hidden truths. But you may have been taught to doubt yourself. To ignore your gut. Maybe others told you that your feelings were wrong or that your dreams were silly. This wound can create a deep mistrust of your own inner voice. You may second-guess everything or feel anxious about making choices. Healing means learning to trust your intuition again. It means recognizing that your insights are valuable. Your inner voice is not just real, it's wise. And it can guide you toward the life you were always meant to live. Creativity. You likely have a rich inner world filled with imagination, dreams, and beauty. Chiron in Pisces often shows up in poets, artists, musicians, and storytellers. Your soul speaks in colors, sounds, and symbols. But somewhere along the way, someone may have made you feel like your art wasn't important. Maybe you were told to grow up or get real. And you buried that creative spark to fit in. Reconnecting with your creativity is a huge part of your healing. When you paint, write, dance, or sing, you're not just making art, you're setting your spirit free. Don't be afraid to express yourself. Your creativity is medicine. And it's not just for others. It's for you, too. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most profound lessons for Chiron in Pisces. Maybe you've been hurt deeply. Maybe someone broke your trust, abandoned you, or caused you pain they never apologized for. Holding on to that pain can feel like protection. But over time, it becomes a cage. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what happened was okay. It means choosing to stop carrying it with you. Forgiveness is for your peace. It's the key that unlocks your heart from the past. And sometimes, the hardest person to forgive is yourself. But you deserve to let go. You deserve to be free. Surrender. Chiron in Pisces teaches the power of surrender. Not in giving up, but in letting go of the need to control everything. Life flows like a river, and healing comes when you stop trying to swim upstream. You may want answers, structure, and clear paths. But sometimes, the greatest breakthroughs come when you trust the unknown. When you allow life to unfold without forcing it. Surrender is about trusting the timing of your life. Trusting that you are guided. That even in confusion, something sacred is taking shape. You are not lost. You are becoming. Transcendence. The ultimate gift of Chiron in Pisces is transcendence. This means rising above the pain, the fear, and the confusion. It means connecting with something bigger, your soul, your purpose, your inner light. People with this placement often become healers, artists, spiritual teachers, or quiet guides. Your wounds become your wisdom. Your story becomes your strength. And your life becomes a light for others to follow. This isn't about perfection. It's about presence. Living from the heart. Trusting your journey. And knowing that everything you've been through has prepared you to be exactly who you are. Chiron in Pisces is one of the most deeply spiritual and emotionally complex placements in astrology. It asks you to feel, to surrender, to trust, and to heal, not just for yourself, but for the collective. Your journey is not easy. But it is powerful. And as you walk the path of healing, you don't just find wholeness, you become a light for others who are still searching. Thank you for watching. We'll be back soon with more exciting astrology-related videos. Until then, continue to make your mark on the world. Remember, greatness knows no limits. Be sure to leave a comment on which of these traits you relate to the most or to suggest our next video topic. We try to respond to every comment left by you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more astrology content. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars.